Hi, everybody. This is Charles Harper, and I'm here to do a special episode of the PLR show. And actually, this happened as a result of looking at some things that Darren kind of posted online, and he told I think a story that's going to be familiar to a lot of you, at least up to a point. And I know that what happens is, in our business, you will see sometimes you'll see a successful launch. Sometimes you'll see somebody and they'll post their screenshot. And you think, well, man, that guy, that woman, they're pretty lucky. Or I'll never be able to get there. And what I want to do is, many of you, you've seen that, I've been telling you about some of the things that Darren has actually put up for sales. He's another PLR creator, makes good audio and a lot of stuff like that. But what I want to do here in this session is I don't really want to talk about the audio and the products. I really want to talk about Darren. Darren, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Charles. Thanks for having me.
Man, if you recall, you posted something on Facebook just about your journey to being able to really generate some success, as an internet marketer, as a PLR creator. And it's not even about so much about being a PLR creator. It's really more about kind of having to overcome some stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I want to do is I want to go back to, let's maybe go back to 2015, maybe the beginning, and kind of talk about sort of what you were going through. I know that when you wrote this, you said that throughout 2015, you maybe earned $5,000.
Yep.
And a lot of it went towards some other expenses. So what was 2015 like? And so what were you doing, and kind of how did you work through a lot of that? So what was happening in 2015?
Well, interestingly enough, out of like the 5,000 too, I would say maybe 600 to 800 was from mowing lawns, which was something I still do
Right,
to bring
yeah.
in money,
Yeah, right on.
And a friend loaned me 500. I pretty much gave it to me as a gift because it was for something related to music. They wanted me to try and like get my music out there bigger, and that was like what is the word, flailing attempt to try and get make something out of myself.
Right.
Well, I actually had my first product launch in 2014, and it was with
Now, what was
yes. It was this software called it was a software called Note Locker, and you can actually still find it. It's on like all the the resale rights sites. That was my first launch, and it was I wanted to do a PLR. Well, here's how it kind of went. I can tell the whole story, which I think is kind of interesting if you want to hear it.
Absolutely.
I started out like I think everyone else, you might end up on the Warrior forum or somewhere. You might and you'll see those threads and you'll get looped into WSOs, and you'll pay $7 for a method that's supposed to make you $100 a day.
Of course.
And doesn't make you anything, just waste your time. But I did a lot of those when I started. What was that? I think I got on the Warrior forum first in 2011. I was looking at SEO kind of stuff. I started learning that for a business. I was selling like sample packs and sound banks for synthesizers and stuff for music producers.
Yeah.
And that was how I was making my money. That was kind of where it took off. Like once I realized you could make money with music that way instead of like actually selling songs and touring, I started making those sounds and samples and selling them. And I think my first one was like 2012 when I launched this business I had. And I made like $400 my first day doing that, and it was just because I had built a following, like gating and all those fan gating stuff with my music and I just had a huge that was back before Facebook kind of like screwed everything with the ads and the reach. Like you could actually post and get really great outreach, no matter.
Right.
And I would post these things. I'd be like, hey, I just released a new sound bank, and 100 people would like my posts, and they were like fans and followers, and I was making a good money when I was doing that. And then all of a sudden I actually have I want to do a case study sometime. It was 2012 November when I started, they did some weird, the algorithm change. And then I started trying to pay for, to boost my posts.
Right.
And I have proof that I was making more traffic and sales not boosting my posts in October 2012 with the same style of posts, then I was boosting my posts in November 2012 with the same,
Right.
It's funny how they even like, they really did some fishy stuff. But I just kept doing that with this sound business I had going on for a few years. But it was never making me enough money it was a lot of work because you're working creatively, and it was never making me enough money to actually like move out from my parents' house or do any of that. It was just enough to kind of pay for some bills, credit cards, and stuff like that. It was enough to keep me afloat and
Right.
kind of just make me enjoy doing. I was still floating. I had just finished college and I was having fun. But then it was like I was on the Warrior Forum. After I'd done that, I kept getting emails from JV Zoo and stuff because I had bought products. You get the product of the day thing. And I still never understood what it was at that time.
Right.
But you quickly get roped in. It's like, this product will make you. This guy made $3,200 in 7 days, and I would buy it. And then that's when I learned about like niche sites, like that. How people used to do one site for one product, and it was like a review site for ClickBank or Amazon, and those were like the thing back in the day. I remember I bought a course, and that was when I learned, like, oh, well, this is what people were doing, but it wasn't that was 2013, I think I bought that course. And it was right around that time that I actually got an email from a guy that I had bought one of his, I don't know what, it was some product. I signed up for something, and it was about, he was wanting people to try out his list building academy or something. It was this course he was rolling out, and he said, do you want to try this? He sent out a email to his list, said, get back to me. I want to know what level you're at, and if you wanted to give it a whirl, this coaching thing I'm going to be selling.
Yeah.
And so I wrote back, and he gives me access to it, and it was like the first 4 weeks, and that was when I learned about, and you'll laugh about this, I actually got my first full dose of email marketing.
Right.
Building lists, but it was from I wonder if I probably signed up through that guy's affiliate link on Aweber. So he's still getting commissions from me now that I think about it. But it was basically this course to tell you how to build a list just to sell solo ads, and that whole spiel. And it seemed like this thing, like this genius idea, the way they pitch it when you don't know anything. They're like, you build your list and you get 100 people that subscribe, and then you send them down through this funnel, and they'll see the OTO, and they make it sound like, oh, well, I'm going to make $100 every time I buy a solo ad.
Right, it's magic, right?
Yeah, and I'm sitting there like I'm telling my sister's boyfriend, and I'm like, dude, this is brilliant. Like, I finally found this thing that's going to make me all this money, and I get to try it, and it's like, oh, wow, I just spent $200 on clicks, and I made $20. And that was a lucky, and the guy like he doesn't charge back for the OTO or something. It was like, it's like, that always happens, that kind of stuff. And so I kept trying it, though. I kept trying to build a list just because that was the only thing I knew. I didn't realize that product launches were if you're doing the list building kind of thing, where really you're at the top of your game with either product, to have your own product, or to have a way to build, to generate leads in a good way. Mm-hmm. And being able to create products is definitely a valuable thing, I think, whether you're doing it as PLR products or doing it as something you're selling.
Straight up info product, yeah.
Yep, yeah. And it's so easy once you get the hang of it, too. So time passed, and then I kind of saw that, like, I started to kind of get into PLR, and I learned more about PLR. And 2014 comes around, and I'm like, well, I'm going to do my own product. Like, I want to do a product launch. That's going to be my thing. And so
what made you decide that at that point you were gonna, the product launches were gonna be your thing? What was your thought process?
I think it was being on people's lists, like Edmund Lowe and stuff. Like, I was on these guys' lists, and I would see that they would always talk like product launch is the top of your game. I'd see them launch their own products, and these guys, and from the outside, you never know how much they're making. You just know that they look like they're like elite.
They look cool, right? Yeah.
Yeah, you're on their email list, and he's dressed in like a suit and stuff. I'm like, oh, this guy's got to be serious. So it was at that point, I would get on the Warrior Forum, and everyone's like, well, creating your own product is the way to launch it. That's the way to launch your building efforts in your career, doing email marketing and internet marketing. So I get on, at the time, I think it was Upwork. No, sorry, not Upwork. Odesk. And I know how to do coding and stuff as it is, so I kind of made a framework for this. Like, this software note locker was like Notepad, like Windows Notepad, with tabs. And what it did is it would auto-save your notes to your hard drive and to Google Drive, like it integrated with your Google Drive. And I thought that was like a cool feature because me and my friend were doing a lot of sharing of notes. So we would use this software to keep up to date with each other about stuff.
And this was from the music world. So you kind of had this experience,
mm-hmm.
so you sort of knew the need from what you were doing in music.
Yeah. Like I knew it was like a good. I just figured, oh yeah. Well, then I later found out that like Notepad++, and there's things that like do that kind of same thing. But when I created it, I was first getting, I listed it on I had it done by April of 2014, and then I listed it on JVZ. I had bought so many products from getting into this stuff that I bought like sales page templates,
right,
for Photoshop. So I was doing like the sales pages in Photoshop, so they looked all really fancy and stuff. And I remember I was like, okay, I'm going to sell this software for like, $7 on JVZoo. And then I decided that, well, what's the better way to what's something I always wanted to get like an evergreen kind of market. Like you can sell software and then you're limited to software. You sell like the make money online products, you're limited to like making those kind of products. But like with PLR and resale rights, you can sell anything.
Right. Yeah.
And that's what I loved about it. I was like, well, I don't have to stick with software. Then I can do WordPress plugins or info products or anything. So then I decided, okay, well then I'm just going to throw in like a sales page with the people who buy the software, and like I'll just kind of give them I made a funnel and all this stuff. And it was around that time that this guy contacted me. Should I say his name or should I? The guy who ended up being my partner. That's what I don't know if I should.
Oh, I don't know. Well, I'm going to leave that.
We'll just call him.
We'll protect the
my partner. We'll partner.
Your
Yeah.
partner. Some people are going to figure it out anyway, I'm sure.
Yeah. And that's up to them. As long as I say this, we're broad. We're being broad about it, I guess. So yeah,
people could probably guess where the story is going from here, though.
Yeah.
Anyway, right?
Yeah. This guy reaches out to me and he says, hey, your thing is not going, your product, it's the kind of thing, I realized later he's like a poacher. Basically what he was doing, he would try to find people on JVZoo that were new and get them to JV with him, where he would do the stuff and then he'd just basically profit off of all your hard work. He would gather a couple affiliates and whatnot. So this guy, though, he applies to be my product, to promote my product, and he has like 7,000 JVZoo sales, and I was like, oh, what, this is it? I was like all excited, that's
right.
a big deal.
Of course.
And he adds me on Skype. I forget, I think I had my Skype on my JV page, and so he adds me on Skype and he's talking to me and he says, I don't think this is going to sell, you need to do this and that and that, and he's kind of like chewing me out for it, and he's like, well, I can partner with you and so-and-so and do all this stuff. So I was like,
and of course,
all right, well,
you're saying like, well, yeah, this sounds good.
Yeah, like how am I going to do it on my own? That's how I saw it. So we partner up, and it's 50-50 contract and everything, and it goes pretty well. It did not do bad at all. I mean, I think it made, for my first launch, it made like 100, almost 200 funnel sales, and I made like $400 or $500. So, it was just, I never knew what to expect. So I thought, oh, well, this is kind of cool. I broke even and I made a little bit of money and I had like a bunch of people on my list.
Right.
And then I kind of I was working on another product, but I kind of fell off that summer for a little bit and I had to take care of other things that were going on and some health issues and stuff.
So
and then
so what caused you to fall off? Because I think, that happens to people, right? So you have this. It happens a lot. I mean, you get a good burst. Something happens, and then what caused you to lose your focus?
A big thing was the being torn between whether I should continue working with him because he said we can continue working together, or if I should go on my own. And you don't know. Like, I really didn't know how to do email. I was scared. I think it's a big thing for people when they first build their list is they are scared to email their list. I was so scared to do that for the first time. Oh, and then like you see the responses. Like if you and you're on it, you have to talk to the people on your list like they're your friends because they're and your customers because it's like that is what they are.
Right.
It's not that if they're on the same level as me. I like to look at if I'm helping them out, they're helping me out. That's how it has to work. But getting back to the story, it was so I didn't know where I wanted to go. I had made another, I made like 2 WordPress plugins, and they were just like generic kind of things, but they had PLR. And I decided not to work with them again.
And this
For
is
the time
2015?
2014. This was
2014. Okay.
September of
Yep.
2014. So, 2 months passed, and so I launched this WordPress plugin, and it does all right and sells. And then I launch the next one, and it does all right, but it's not like, it's nothing big because I just still was kind of a newbie. I didn't have my footing in the whole thing. But I did notice that I had this list of like 60 people, and I would mail out, and I made like $200 from it.
Right.
So I knew that the money was there if you have the products. And that was like, I stopped for a while. Then with the WordPress plugins, I was like, well, I got to figure out something else. And that's what me and my friend had been talking about, this audio thing. We had been using my music that I was making for background songs for all of our videos. Because at the time we had bought, I think, Video Maker Effects was the first one that came out. Then Explainio came out. And we bought them. And because I had showed it to him, he would cut me in at like 40% of, he lives out in California. And he would be selling these really cool explainer videos to like contractors in the energy efficiency niche. That's what because he does that for a career. Like he actually works in that. That's his college thing. He works at a real high up company that does zero net energy stuff. And so he had this whole thing. Like he knew that they had really crappy sites and they needed good videos. So he started selling them for like high tickets and stuff. And that was how I was kind of bringing in some money to fund like, oh, okay, well, this will cover the bills for this month and this will cover the bills for that month. And that's how I was able
well as your internet marketing habit.
Yeah. So it's like this is how, he was like, I'll cut you in, and I have no problem doing that because I would have no clue of Explainio or these. If you hadn't told me, like I would have no clue how to do a word because we started doing WordPress sites before too. I taught him how to do that, and he's really smart. He catches stuff quick, so I just installed it for him. I was like, here you go, and he went out and found the themes, and he knew how to customize them. And he learned HTML on his own. He's one of those guys, and so we kind of had done that back and forth for a while, and he's still encouraged. But he was the guy who said, dude, why wouldn't you be selling these songs as these product launches? Like, because I had showed him some of the ones that were out there, and I would send them to him, and he's like, that's so bad, I wouldn't even use it as a joke. Like some of these songs that were out there, like people were selling stock music on JVC, and I've heard some of it, and it was like, it's like loops, like in the music producer industry, you can get like loops, like drum loops and stuff. And that was literally like with the like little synth loops, and these people were literally like just buying those and packaging them. I'm pretty sure that's what they're doing.
Yeah,
and they're
some
just
of them were pretty bad. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't even know if that's legal to do either. If they look in that, so it's like very questionable. And then you'll see they offer PLR as an upsell. I noticed that too for the one, and I was like, wow, this guy. But I knew that I had like a monopoly there if I were to release my songs. As opposed to like what's out there, and on top of that, I could offer PLR because I like the PLR concept, and so I started doing that in maybe December of 2014, and I kind of it took a long time because I had to get into the groove and understand how I was going to make these songs, how to package them, and above all, how it was going to be packaged as PLR. I think that took me 6 months, and I had like multiple like mental breakdowns from just life and like trying to get it pulled all together. It's like, is this going to even sell for the amount of time I had been investing into it? Like, is this going to make me money? Is this worth it? And I had actually told the guy who had been my partner, I was like, well, I have this idea. I knew I could go with him because I figured this was like a brilliant idea. I thought like this was going to be the thing that'll put me on the map and everything. So I told him, I pitched it to him in like December, and he's like, yeah, well, we'll do that. And it took me like 6 months to even pull it together. He had kept bothering me, and I was like, I'm still working on it. So 2015 came, and I think that's the year that it's really important to talk about because like that summer was like I was just a bag of crap that summer. I was like drinking all the time, and like everything was just gone to crap in my life really. Like because I was still doing the product, like trying to get this product together, but I just lost faith in it. I lost motivation, and I think that's something that happens to a lot of people. And I was really like,
do you think that that's what's kind of pushed you, to that direction? Was it that, you were seeing some stuff, it wasn't happening, and you just kind of felt like less hope about it, or what?
Yeah,
was it
like I put all this effort into it, and it's like, well, is this going to even make me that much money? Is this going to be worthwhile? Is it going to be a sustainable business model? And for the time and effort I'd put into it, I was really scared that, to do the volume 2 and to do the volume 3, like, am I going to go through this breakdown every time I have to do this? But the good thing is, as I developed this product, I made like checklists, and I got like a system to it, kind of. I made things like I started to do it, and now it's like for doing my PLR products, like now it's unreal. Like I don't even have to use my checklist anymore. I just know them because I've done it so many times.
Mm-hmm.
But like that's one of the things that I think can really help people is you need to organize everything from the very start. You know what you learn, and you take notes. Like even from the very start, I should have been organizing my list building. I should have been keeping track of that and taking it seriously. Even if you have a list of like 50 or 100 people, there's a girl that's in our scene that she told me it's like 400 or 500 people, and she makes probably almost 2,000 a month, 1,500 a month, just doing mostly affiliate promotions. So it's like, it doesn't matter how big your list is. If you're doing it right, you can still monetize it. And I was too naive to realize that. I thought that like, well, 50 people, even though I had made some money, I thought like, this is like, I had fallen off so much over the 8 months, 6 months of doing the product, and I hadn't been emailing out it. And when you're new as an affiliate, people like won't approve you to promote their stuff.
That's right.
Or they put you on delayed, and when they put you on delayed, it's like super discouraging because if you're really hard up for cash, you don't know if it'll be 8 weeks before they release it.
Yes, exactly right. Yeah.
And I've had that even like now when I like when we get further in the story, I'll tell you like recently I still like now I get on a instant most times because I have enough sales and people know me. But even 2 months ago, like some of the guys that we interact with today still were putting me on delayed, and some of the guys even now put me on delayed, and I'm like, come on, dude, this is kind of silly. Mm-hmm. Like I'm not promoting your product to have fun. But it's like, so we're back in, it was that summer, and I was just June 2015, and I was so just discouraged. It was like, what is this? Is this going to work for me? All the while I had kind of decided to give up and start looking for jobs in May of 2015. So that whole month, I spent like a whole month looking for jobs. And I applied to so many. I went to college for like IT and web development and stuff. So I figured I would try and find one of those jobs. And I applied. And there's not many in this area, like that. And we live in the same area.
Yes, exactly.
It's really bad. Even freelancing is just terrible. And when you try and do freelancing for web design nowadays, it's like impossible because there's agencies and there's like ways to make your own. It's like you have WordPress, drag and drop. It's that my job is like largely obsolete unless I have a niche that I'm working in.
Were you getting from other people? I know you mentioned in your post that people were telling you, well, look, Darren, why don't you go and get a full-time job?
Yeah.
Did you feel like you were kind of you were hearing that in your head, and you said, okay,
the whole
maybe
time.
they're right.
Oh, ever since it started in 2014, the whole time it was always, I got to get a job. I got to get a job. And I kept trying, there would be months where I'd just like break down and be like, all right, let's look. And it's like, you spend 40 hours a week looking for a job.
You do.
So it is. I mean, looking for a job is a full-time job. And as I'm doing that, it was, May 2015. And I'm like, I'm literally full-time jobbing, looking for a job. And I could just be working on this product. And I was really like, I had a real bad schedule, and I was drinking a lot. And like, I was just so down. Like, I thought it was the end of things. I was like I was really ready to like kill myself. I was. And the debt's piling up and stuff. And it was at that time, it was like a year earlier, I had broken up with a girlfriend that I was dating for 2 years, and she had supported me through the music stuff and like, been there for me, like my cheerleader. So we had broken up, and it had things had really gotten bad for me, but she'd kind of still been friends with me and would talk to me. And then, we had a real big blowout fight in June 2015, and she said, well, we're not talking anymore, and she blocked me from, no communication, nothing anymore. And I had been just, I had been looking for jobs. I interviewed for like 5 jobs in 1 week, and they were decent jobs, and I kept following up, and not one of them hired me. And I was just so down, and I was like, I just woke up. I remember it was one day in, I think it was maybe the beginning of July 2015, end of June, and I woke up, and I was like, I'm so sick of this. Let's just do it. Let's just go forward and finish the stupid product. I've been dragging it on. Finish it, because I can do it. Stop looking for jobs and do this, and just go forward. And if this doesn't work, then you'll figure something out. You got to figure something out. You'll find something. Because I always do. I always have found a way to make things work somehow or another. I always tell people that's like my thing. I figure a way to do that. And so I just pushed forward a whole solid like month or so, and I had told my partner, I was like, it'll be ready. This is coming powered through it, got it all done, worked super hard, gave him this, sent it to him. It was the beginning of August 2015. I cleaned up my whole life. I stopped drinking. I stopped doing everything. I got back on a good schedule, and I was like being real positive and just focusing on everything. I don't know. It was just kind of like you hit rock bottom, and I was like, well, the best way I like to put it is it's kind of like waiting for success to hit you, but not doing anything, and then wondering why it's not happening. And I think a lot of people get in that rut, and I think it's really easy to be mad at the world and be like, well, I'm talented, and you're talented, and everybody has their own talent, but it's like, why isn't this happening for me? And it's because you have to make your own luck, and you really have to go out there and take the chance to do it. And so, I tell my partner August 2015, it's ready. Here we go. I send him the stuff, and he gives me some feedback, put sales videos on this page and that page. And we do that. We schedule it it was September 2015. So, that was like, I had it done, and that was like my month. August was like a good month for me. I kind of had some fun and just enjoying kicking back. Like, oh, we have this big product launch. This is going to make me a lot of money. Because I figured, think about that, you need stock audio. I need everyone can use it. And I figured that my partner was just as passionate about the concept as I was, because I had told him, I was like, this is a brilliant idea. Just listen to the songs, man. This is going to sell. We just got to push it to the right crowd. And, there's guys like Todd Gross out there, and he ended up not, and, but there's like all these guys that you just have to get them on board. And Todd has like a list of video people, and that would have been a perfect thing for him to promote. So were
you thinking at that point, this is the one, right?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
This was the big one.
That was it. I mean, I had my heart set. I knew in the back of my mind that if it didn't go through, I was screwed. I was in a bad spot. But the launch came September, and it goes live, and the sales start coming in, and it's selling and stuff. And it was since that was like 2015. It was really high on JVs. I remember it was like up there in the top 3 all day, and people were buying it, and all this, everything was just working out really well. I think over the course of the launch, I made almost like 700 or 600. But at the end of the day, like, that was not enough to I was happy, but the $700 is not enough.
It was not enough
to like justify the work that I put into it and all this effort. And
how much time did you think you put into that? How much? So let's talk about, if you can just estimate.
I can tell you now for sure how long they take. If I were to tell you, like, now when I make a product, knowing that how long it was going to take me, I can do them, and this is actually unreal to say, I can do a whole like 35 tracks in probably 40 to 80 hours. And I mean, that's ridiculous. It's just because I have a process, because I had made so much music before I got into doing this that I went to workshops to learn how to write music fast and do that kind of stuff. And, so yeah, 40 to 80 hours for the music alone. And then, you do the sales pages and all that stuff. So you got another 20 to 40 hours depending. And I knew that $700 was not going to outsource the music. There's no way that music was going to get outsourced. And there's no way that it was going to, it could outsource sales pages and stuff, but I already had the copy written. I just had to rewrite it, which is what I do for most of the sales pages. I rewrite it so it's unique for each one of the sales pages that comes with these. Which is tricky too, because you're saying the same things, but you can't say it the same way. But yeah, so we made $700, and I think it did well, but not enough people. Like, way more people could have promoted it for sure. He just didn't care. My partner didn't care. Like, for him, it was just another launch to build his list and make some money. And he lives in the Philippines, so like $7 and $700 is a lot from what I know.
Were you discouraged once the launch was over? So when the sales kind of stopped for that, what was going through your mind when you look at the numbers?
50-50. I was stoked because, like, that's a lot. Like $700 was a lot when you were really broke. And I didn't track it all. I had thought it was closer to 1,000 at the time, so like I was really stoked then. I don't know how I made that. Like, I was just so like just frazzled, I guess, during it. And, I had told him, there's actually something really dodgy then that happened that he did that really pissed me off. That I will mention. And it was like, so he tells me, I tell him like, this is good. And he's like, okay, well, bro, get the next one ready. And I was like, yo, you are out of your mind if you think that I'm going to have the next one ready for, like, I was already working on it. During August, I started the next product to kind of, because I was like, ready, because I was like, oh, well, this works. I want to get the next one going. If this works, I don't want to sit there for 3 months. I didn't know. I was like 50% done with the next one. So, I said, you're out of your mind if you think I'm going to be able to have one in like a few weeks for you. But all the while I had this idea called Sound Store, which I had hired after the first launch. I wanted to hire this coder on Upwork to create like a custom WordPress theme and plugin that would basically host all these songs in the white label audio packages, and I would sell you that, and you could plug it in and rebrand, and do that. And it was like I hired this guy, and I had mentioned in my post, because we're almost getting to that point, I mentioned in my post how I had a credit card. Like, things were still really bad with bills and stuff. I had a credit card with $1,500 left on it, and I had the $700 from this launch. And I thought, let's pay, I'll put $1,500 towards getting this developed. Because I figured, well, if we put that as an OTO for like $47, that's still going to convert,
Right.
That's going to, and I'll keep reusing it. We had developed a way to kind of plug in the info again and again. So, November comes and I decide like, well, I want to have a whole crap load of these stock audio packages ready for me. And I go and I try to produce, I set up for this impossible goal of producing one package a week. Okay. So I do the volume 2, I do the blues band one, I get the jazz collection done, I get the rhythm and blues collection done, all in November. And then I start to work on the dance music collection one, and I'm starting to work on another one, like an orchestral one. And at that point, I was just like, something just hit me. Like, everything was overwhelming. I just like had a breakdown for like, I had to like almost like check myself into a place. I don't know what happened. I just like lost my mind there, just from working so hard. That's something I recommend. Like, people don't ever do that. That was when I started to realize I kind of had to like focus on my mental health and stuff, and start looking into like getting, not. Like, there's cycles of people that like you work really hard and you don't stop, and then you have like a breakdown. And that was
when you say a breakdown, so you sit at your computer and you just couldn't do anything, or what is a breakdown? What do you mean by a breakdown?
Mentally, it was just like everything, just like I couldn't handle anything in life anymore. I was just I didn't think that this was going to work out, and that was where I actually would bring up the point that I have an addictive personality, so it's easy for me to get hooked on things, and I feel like you can get hooked on anything in life, like food and porn, you can hook on anything in life that give a release of something, running, exercise, that kind of stuff. And gaming, video games, which I never had a problem with in my life, became a problem for me around about a year ago. It was like I clocked out, had like a breakdown, and I just started it'd been so long, I just like opened up Steam, which is like a gaming thing on my computer. I just started playing games, and I was just doing it. And then I found this one game I started playing. I think I played like 150 hours or more in December. Like, I just clocked out my brain. Like, I got up and that was all I could do. Like, I just started playing. I didn't have any motivation to work. I don't know what happened to me. It was a really dark period of my life.
And this is weird, because I've heard this from other people, Darren, where you're right at the verge where you've had some success, and some people say, well, maybe it was you were scared of the success, or but do you think it's weird that you sort of had this breakdown right as you were starting to break out?
Yeah, it was like, I think it was all the things like I could be very successful. This might not work. I'm taking a huge risk. I'm not sure exactly how to go about this, and my partner was useless. I gotta be totally honest. The guy was useless. So I would ask him like feedback and stuff. He wasn't helping me. He didn't help me with like any of the funding, And you would think if we were partners on this thing, he would be helping me fund this sound store development, that I was hiring. It was the coder I had worked with before, and he was great. But because I was like so absent-minded, it was like the project stumbled and it was not moving along. So the new year came. And I had the blues band collection done in the lounge beats collection, which are two of the volume 2 and volume 3 of the stock audio collection, the white label audio collection. And January came, and I kind of was like, all right, let's fix my life here. I'm playing games, and I was kind of like, I gotta stop doing this. The coder was getting really mad at me, so we start talking. I'm like, it was really hard because when you're trying to develop, this is what I think caused some of the breakdown too, was that I went into developing this whole project with not knowing, like now I'm good at developing and I have like a whole mock-up thing and I do a whole process, but I went into it not knowing what the heck I was doing. I had some schematics, but then as we got into it, there was times I actually think that's part of it too. I remember saying to myself, and the girl that I'm now like talking to and dating, and she was involved with me like a year ago, and I said, I have no clue what I'm doing. I'm over my head. I don't know how I'm going to do this. Like, I'm like $800 in with this coder. I didn't think of half the stuff that we needed in this. And now I'm trying to plan it out, and it's really hard when you're trying to plan something out from totally scratch. And it was just like, that was part of the big thing with the breakdown. I'm making those songs in November, and I'm trying to balance this coder and develop all these things. And there was like a lot of stuff he needed me to do, like setting up mock-ups of the pages, and it's hard to develop it and commit to things. We were doing something totally new for the style with the sounds and stuff, each song, and I had to come up with we had to find like plugins and certain things, and he liked coding stuff from scratch, so we would do that. And anyway, January comes, and I'm like, let's get back into gear. I'm talking to him, we're going back and forth, and we're making good progress. Then I guess like he had other projects, he had another client that was really hard to work with, but February comes, and I'm somehow I'm barely scraping by.
This is February of 2016, right?
Yeah, and I stopped paying my bills in December. What happened was I had set up automatic payments with Chase, and they had like double charged me for something. I forget what happened. I had made some call, and they like double charged me. And it was like a $300 2 times, and it brought my bank account down into like negatives. Mm-hmm. And I was like so like frazzled, like because when you bring your bank, like I have the credit union, the local one, and usually when you bring any bank into the negatives, they give you a courtesy fee,
right?
And it's like $30, and they did it like 10 times to me. So I was like down $1,000. That's where a lot of the money went to. So I was like, I had to beg my mom. I was like, Mom, can you please? My she's so awesome. She like my parents aren't loaded or anything. They don't have money or like no offense to them. They've been that's like they taught me a great lesson in life. You have to work hard, and it's like, my mom she would sneak and like help me with this and stuff occasionally. She's like, I can't afford to do this, but she would help me. And
I'm sure that makes you feel just totally jacked about that.
Yeah, like, this is great.
Oh my goodness.
I just felt so, all the time. I still sit here all the time, and I'm really guilty. Like, I feel so bad because it's like, look what I've put my parents through. Like, I'm such a piece of crap that it took me so long to do. But we'll talk about that, kind of how it's like, you kind of have to keep your head forward. And we'll see. Here's where it went wrong. February, I'd stopped paying my bills in December. I'd stopped paying my student loan. And when you stop paying your student loan, they will hit your score really hard. Because that's like not the same kind of thing as a credit card. And boom, my score went from like a 700 down to like a 300. It was like boom, and that was part of my breakdown too. That when I saw that happen, so I called him. I was like, please, like stop. Like I can't pay it right now. Stop. You're like ruining my life. It's already bad as it is, but like, you're killing my credit score, and now I'll never be able to move out of my parents' house. I still, that's another thing. I live with my parents right now. They still put up with me. Like, I'm still working to get out and get out of the debt, and they've been so good. But it's like, yeah, I called the student loans, and I was like, please, like, I can't do this anymore. And so they're like, we'll give you 1 year forbearance. And I figured, 1 year from now I can turn my whole life around, if I work hard.
Right.
That'll be fine. I was like thrilled. So I got rid of that. I knew that I had to worry about it in a year.
What made you ask for that? Some people would just accept that. What made you ask them to just go to them and say, hey, you know what, I can't do this?
Well, they kept sending me text messages on my phone, and it was like, we see that you haven't made your bill, like you're 90 days behind or something. And I like sent a message, and I was like, it says say no to opt in for other things. And I was just I was like breaking out. I was like, I gotta fix this. And I decided to call because I was like, what can I do? I didn't know what to do. I didn't have any money, and I just called and I said, I got to tell them. Like, I had found out, I Googled something, and I found out that you can get, like, I figured, well, they'll postpone it for 30 days. I figured if it means they're going to get their money. Otherwise, they get zero,
Right.
So I called them, and they were really cool. They're like, well, I was like, just please, I need like 30 days or 60 days. And they're like, well, we'll give you a whole year. And I was kind of taken back. I said, well, I don't need a whole year, but that would really help me.
Right, right.
I mean, I know that the interest piles on each month, even though you're not paying, because, you know, during that time, that's the whole catch of the forbearance. But
Right. Yeah.
I took that, and so that was gone. So I knew that wasn't going to keep destroying my credit score. But the other cards, like the debts, like 18,000, were up to, because I made terrible choices when I was young. And other businesses, you know, I would take money from the credit card and try and fund them, and then it would flop in things that I did, like funding the coding and the product development for stuff.
Right.
And I figured I would make it back, and I wouldn't make it back. But yeah, so, you know, February came, and I was ready, like, I was talking to the coder, and I was like, we're going to get this done, we'll get it done. And all of a sudden I get this message from him, like an email, and it's from, like, his mom. And I know he was living with his parents, but he was in his 20s like me. He had moved back with his parents because he was close with them. He lives in Canada. He was a cool guy. But he gets, like, an email from his mom that says, like, unfortunately, Steve can't continue working on this project with you. He has some other stuff, like some things to deal with. And I'm like, oh, wow, this is like the end of it.
You got a note from his mom?
Yeah, like I got his mom's basically, and that really pissed me off, because it's like, wow, you can't even tell me that you, like, and he asked me to help to pay for the rest, like the rest of part of what he'd done. It was like $400. I was like, well, you're out of your mind. I didn't answer. I was like, but I'm thinking, you're out of your mind if I'm going to pay you anything for software, like a thing that's broken, it doesn't work. So I was already out of, like, you know, almost $1,000 there. My credit cards was tapped out. That was completely done. The $700 I had gotten was from the double charges in the bank going into negatives. I was, like, really screwed. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna kill myself if this doesn't turn around. Like, I was really set on it. I had been, like, planning. I was thinking about methods and stuff. I was pretty set on that. And so I go. I decide to. What was it? I decided to finish the 2 audio launches. I said, there's one, this is my last chance. So, you know, let's pull the things together. Let's just launch them as they are and try again.
Right. Yeah.
Let's just go. And here's the weird thing. I had a list. Now you're probably wondering, what were you doing with your email list that you built from the first launch? Well, I had the list and I got it into Aweber, but the thing I was kind of naive about was that, you know, when you have, like, it was like 300 subscribers or something. When you have that, you don't know how well it's going to convert. And I said that, you know, people want to prove me for offers to promote. I didn't know how to write emails well. I didn't, you know, I was just in a bad spot mentally, so I wasn't in the position to be trying to pitch people and promote things to people and stuff.
Right, yeah.
And above all, I had done a couple emails and I didn't get any sales. And the weird thing about the white label audio stuff is that you get a mix of PLR people and people that just get it for the audio.
Correct, right, yeah.
So promoting PLR products wasn't the way to go. And that's why actually for this launch, I had the list totally separate. You know, I can tell the people that are in it for the PLR, then so they go to that list. I tell them they can go to that list. But, you know, I keep the white label audio people separate because I've had them email and say, hey, I really like the PLR stuff you share, but I'm really here for the music. And I'm like, oh, okay, well then just make sure you opt to this list and I won't bug you with the PLR stuff. But it's like, you know, I was in I realized that I kind of put myself in a weird spot with the audience I had to promote to. So all that time, you know, I'm like, I can't really promote much and people won't approve me anyway. And, you know, so we'll flash back to March. I'm either, you know, kill myself or finish it. Let's finish the audio products and get them out. So I contact my partner at the end of March and I say, hey, let's schedule this for the Lounge Beats collection. And he does it for April, mid-April. So I'm like, all right, well, maybe this is my chance. Maybe I can, this one will be better. And I had done some improvements to the sales funnel and tried some things, and I added another OTO, and I obviously had the first package as an OTO then to bring in more sales.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So we launch, and he didn't post it on Muncheye. He just posted it on his personal wall, you know, and that's like a big, I always feel like if you're going to do like a big launch, it should probably be on Muncheye and all those places.
At minimum, yeah.
Yeah, at minimum. So we do the launch, and this time it did even worse. I mean, it did like $300. And I just went through so much the last few months of that, like all that, you know, I just told you about how rough it was. The coder bailed on me, which I was like, that was when that happened. I was like, I'm done. I'm just gonna kill myself. I just dropped all this money into this guy, and I have nothing now. But yeah, so like we make $300 to $400, and I was like, all right, well, whatever. I was so driven at the time. Me and this girl I had been dating had broken up, and I was like, we had a fight and stuff, and was so driven. I was like, dude, I got to do something. Like, I'm not giving up. I can see the potential here. For some reason, I was still really driven, and I was like, what can I do? I have to make money. And this is where we're getting to that part in my post where I was like, I'm saying, I got to do something. I have two choices. Let's kill myself. Let's try and settle the debt. And so I go and I contact attorneys and see, like, maybe I can just file to be bankrupt then.
Right,
I'm 26. I have plenty. I know many people who have done it and they come back from it. And so I go and find out that it's not that easy to do it anymore. There's a lot more involved to do that because people try to do exactly what I was trying to do. Sorry about that. Anyway, that wasn't an option. And then the third option was, let's try and just write, let's do something to make these, make another product come out.
Yeah, make these products work. Right, yeah.
So I knew I had the blues band collection, and I said, all right, well, let's schedule that too. He schedules it for, I think, the end of May, because we were trying to do one a month. And all the while I had this idea for this PLR product me and my friend had been joking about, because it was actually a bit more complicated. We had talked about how, like, older people that get a computer will get spam and junk emails and, like, get phish, basically, that PH shot. They'll get phished, and they'll have their account information stolen, and then the next thing you know, their banks invaded, and their credit cards and their savings is gone, and their social security number is stolen, all that stuff. It's like, and we were just talking about how that would be a good course to do, but he didn't have the idea to do it as PLR. He's the one that my partner I call him my partner because he was one of my best friends in high school, and we had done the video stuff together, and he was helping me. And he gave me the idea to do the audio stuff. He said, do it, dude. You have my full support. And he would review it for me as we went through it and tell me what was good and what he thought could use improvement. But I tell him about, like, I was like, well, I could sell it as PLR. And he's like, I have no clue what that is. And I have a job. He's like, I have a job, so you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
So I sit down and I'm like, I don't know what to do. I didn't. And I asked my partner, like the actual partner that had been shafting me in these launches.
Right, yeah.
I asked him info, and he didn't give me any feedback. No one was like, when you don't know how to do it, it's really hard to do it. And it's a big risk, to sit there and spend $400 or $500 or $600 to outsource. You don't know how much to pay to buy an ebook. So I just sat down one day, and I wrote out this outline. What can each one thing? And here's my story, is that I kind of have an experience before this in, like, doing hacking and cracking and all that kind of, like, malicious stuff in the past. I have experience. I have friends that have done that. And so I knew a lot about it, and I knew exactly how to. I actually had my account stolen. If you ever check out the PLR, I can give that to you, and you can link it and stuff. I actually, the story on the sales page is actually my story. It talks about how one time in 2011 I was out, or I was watching a movie, and I got a notification on my phone that my email password was invalid. And I jumped on my computer, and it turns out this person had hacked my email account and all my other accounts, and they got to them really fast. And I managed to recover one of the accounts, but it was just like it was horrible. It was like months of headaches fixing things. So I had experience in that, and I learned a lot from it, even though I should have known. I had stuff that I should have done that I didn't do. So I was like, sat down in April 2016, this year, and I was like, let's write the outline for what we can do to help people, because people don't know about this stuff.
Right.
And I just write the outline, and then I just I didn't even use Word. I just opened Notepad and just started drafting up these chapters, and I wrote the whole things out and told stories and told details, and it just went on. I think for 4 straight days I worked like 10 hours a day writing this ebook. And all the while, when you're doing that kind of writing, it's super exhausting. So I kind of got 50% through the project and then kind of lost motivation. But that was because I also had thought of another idea that was PLR based. Because then that was when the ideas was like, well, let's just go at it. Because I had been still trying to find jobs, couldn't find a job. Everything. I figured I don't have an option here. I'm not going to give up. So my mindset just shifted. I wanted to prove it to myself that I could do this. I knew it was possible. Because then why would all these other guys be doing it again and again?
And even if you had gotten a job, I mean, the time frame between actually landing the job and
Hmm.
going on board and actually getting a check into your bank
That's
account.
what I always tell people. You got 4 weeks. You got
Right, you're right about 4 weeks if you make if you make a decision to take the job today.
Exactly. And when you're interviewing, you don't know how long it could be. It could be two months before you even get the job, before they give you an answer. And some of them don't even give you an answer, and that was the pain when I would email them and they would never get back to me, um, following up and stuff. So it was like, all right, I had this idea for the PLR lead magnets, and that's my other thing that I do. And I was like, all right, well, I know enough about making money online and methods of making money online. I'm just too, and I had made money with Fiverr and freelancing, and I had done little stuff along the way. But when you do the little stuff, like, it's not like, a product launcher. It's not like the freelancing, like you really got to do a lot to make ends meet.
Right, yeah.
And if you're selling on Fiverr, I mean, you really got to do a lot to make
$100
a day.
Hard. Yeah, exactly.
You're doing like 20 gigs a day. So it's like I knew all these methods, and I knew like building a list, and I knew I had gone through so much, that I knew the 5 reasons why people don't succeed online. I knew the 6 things that could help you succeed online that are mistakes, like not building a list those are the things that I learned along my way. So I had all these ideas. I wrote down, here's some ideas for lead magnets, the topics for each one, and I said, all right, let's just write them all out based on what I know. And I put my heart into them, and I wrote them for over the course of a week. I wrote 5 lead magnets, and then I just developed the whole modules and stuff around it, like the squeeze pages and all that, the graphics and stuff, because I knew how to do graphics, and I know how to do web design, so I could do all that stuff. I didn't have to outsource it. And I put that together, so we have the first PLR lead magnets product, and we're about partway through May when I decide to, I finish the lead magnets thing, and I say, okay, to my partner, I say, let's launch this as well, and I have another PLR that I'm working on. That was the account security lockdown. That was what it was called.
Yeah.
And I said, we'll launch that then too, but I'm not done with it. I was kind of like, it was a bit more work than the lead magnets, in a way. So I was like, we'll launch the Blues Band collection audio at the end of May, and then he scheduled the lead magnets for the 11th of June, so it was like about a week or two later. So the Blues Band collection goes live on the 30th of May, and that brings like $200 to $300 maybe. So it was another bust. So I was like furious at that point. I was so mad at this, and he didn't care at all. Like I had gotten used to it, and I just figured, oh well, this is the way it's going to keep going for me. But I didn't give up because I knew that I had the lead magnets coming out, and that was like an actual PLR product.
Mm-hmm.
And I figured that would sell. Like there we go. This is going to be it. And that was the next thing. Like remember how I said in September 2015, I thought white label audio. This was the one. This is
the whole run, right? This is the big one, right? Yeah.
So I thought, okay, we got we have these lead magnets, and this is I knew this was going to be hot. It was a good thing, and it went live, and it sold. Now the funnel wasn't what it is now. I had a bunch of other crap in the back end, and it didn't convert well on the back end, but the front end sold like 400 copies or 300 copies. So like, boom, there we go. I knew I had a list that was not only targeted for PLR, but I got feedback from people that liked the product, and they were like, this is phenomenal. This is really great. And that was when I built my list. And I did something kind of scummy too during that. I actually had an exit pop up on the sales page because I figured my partner was like really shafting me. So I was like, oh, I don't give a crap. He's having his partners promoted. I didn't care. And I got like 300 opt-ins from that too. I was really happy about that. So it didn't make a lot of money. I think it made us I made like 600 from that, but it was like enough. I was like, okay, well, there's the funnel can be improved. I knew the back end could be improved.
And and at that point, you had evidence. You knew what you were doing.
Yeah, I knew that it was working. I was like, all right, well, so now I know that the PLR sells. I just need to develop the lead magnets funnel better. And at the same time, when I saw how well that sold, like, boom, I just jumped right on finishing the account security lockdown. I think I finished it in like 3 days. All the sales pages, everything. I just, boom, went all out on it. And I modeled it after, Aurelius Chin and, those guys. I modeled it after how they package their products. Like, what I did when I developed this, and this might help people, because I knew that working with this partner, I was getting 50% of everything. Mm-hmm. So, if you're selling a product at $27 on the back end, and 50% goes to affiliates, you're left with, $13. And then 50% goes to your partner, and by the end of that, I think it comes out to like $5.50. I think that's what I was getting.
PayPal and all the other stuff.
Yeah. So I was getting like $5.50 I knew from the 27s, and I was getting like $8 or $7 something from the $37 ones. And I knew that those two price points could sell because that's what other people do. I don't like to go over 37, depending on what the product is. because I find that sometimes that people are like, they get weird at first. I don't know, once you have more leverage and a reputation, you can charge like $300 and people will buy it. But I was kind of so I went to the account security lockdown and I looked. What I did is I went around and I looked at everyone else's funnels. So I was like, what are they offering on the OTO? And a lot of them were like 10 and 12 modules, and they were like all stuff that was really stupid, like Twitter accounts and like Twitter packages, people you can follow on Twitter, like things like that. And I was like, well, I can do those on steroids, and I can do e-covers, extra e-covers, and I can do this and that and that and that. Like I just kept thinking of things that let's just toss this in, let's just toss this in and this. So then I had the video series for that first upsell. So we had our ebook done on the front end. That was 14 modules at $7. The account security lockdown, and I was like, okay, I know this is going to sell because I know that those, that price point and that kind of product and those modules, that was going to sell. And I had bought Thrive Content Builder, and I built like a nice fancy sales page like all the guys use. So I was like, I was ready. I knew that. So I was like, all right, first OTO is like the standard, the video series upgrade with a new sales page and all that. But it had 22 modules in it instead of like the standard 12 that people were doing for $37.
Right, that's right.
So we had 22 modules. I mean, I just packed everything I could put in there. Everything that was relative to the product creation part, I just gave to the customers because I figured, well, this is your product. I want you to have everything you need to rebrand it and tweak it and do whatever you want with it. So I gave them, everything. And they weren't just like skimpy, stupid modules like, oh, textile. Like they're actually like, every time I do, some of them I do real quick now, but it's like the foundation for it did take a lot of time. It was really hard. So
well, it came out of your experience, though.
So when I bought other people's products and looked at them and studied, I was like, oh, okay, this is how they did this. This is how that was done. So we had our first OTO. That was $37. And I was like, this is going to be a slam dunk. I knew it was going to be. And then I thought, okay, well, the lead magnets is another hot commodity. When you buy a PLR product, don't you want to be able to generate leads, too? Not everyone's going to buy.
Right, yeah.
So I came up with a shortened version of the ebook, but it was more like 7 tips to secure your password. And it was like a lead magnet. And in that one I put 22 I did a video series and I put 22 modules in that as well. And that one was $27 because, it's not as big as the ebook itself. So it is a smaller package, even though it still has the same amount of modules.
Yeah.
So I put that as like the $27. So we had and then we had the downsells and stuff. You have a shortened version of it. So we have our OTO 1 and OTO 2. And I knew that was gold. Like I figured, all right, if this doesn't convert, then I'm done. Like if this doesn't work, then I will have to be done because that's I did something wrong. And then I decided I had made this stupid decision to ask this guy who was not helping me with anything. And there was times where he actually asked me to pay the JV prizes to our affiliates out of my pocket. So, oh yeah, I forgot to mention, that's where some of the money went. So yeah, he was my partner, and he would say, hey bro, contact so-and-so and pay them. And I'm like, and the one time he did, I was like, dude, I can't do this. And I'm like, dude, can you please do this 50-50 with me? Like I shouldn't even had to say please. So, we're getting this whole thing, it's ready. And I made this stupid decision to partner with him for a membership site, okay, on the back end. Because I figured, well, membership site, I can put these together if this works.
Okay, tell me why at that point you made that decision. Why did you go a set? Why did you decide? Was it that you felt like you still feeling pressure about needing income? You didn't know what else to do, or what was kind of going through your mind when you said, okay, we're gonna partner for this next project?
I said if we do this and we do the membership, well, here was my plan. I knew he was screwing me. Like by that point, I knew I wasn't gonna. My plan was we do till December with him. We work with him till December. We build our list as big as we can, and then we just drop him. I had the plan to drop him. I knew it was coming. But there was like glimpses where he'd pretend to be my friend and stuff, and I'd be like, oh, maybe I won't drop him. Maybe he is. But that was like his thing. He was like a snake. He would do that. He would like keep me going because he knew I was his cash cow. He wasn't doing any work, and I was giving him. I was doing literally. Like I'm ready to like kill myself over here. And
did he know kind of what was going on your end?
I had told him a few times. I was like, dude, I'm like having health problem. Like I'm really not doing good mentally. I just need to And he'd be like, okay. He'd like send me the stupid thumbs up thing on Facebook Messenger. He just like, keep me in the loop, bro. Keep me posted, bro. Hope you do better. It's like, oh, thanks. Yeah. He could have been like, here, I'll give you $1,000 to help fund the next product.
Yeah. Oh man.
So we schedule, well, I partnered with him. It was the money thing for the membership. We charged $77 for a year because I figured instead of doing, $9.95 or whatever for a year, or for a month, we would do
one-time fee.
A one-time fee for a year, and that would be more money for me. Like at the time, I figured, okay, well, we sell maybe 100 copies or 10 copies of that. That's still like decent, more commission. I could bring more money in and fund the next product.
Mm-hmm.
So, we schedule it the middle of July, and it's like he had contacted everyone, and like, big affiliates like Liz Tomey promoted it and stuff. Like that was big for me to see, like people like that jumping on board was like huge.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause she is so low key, but when she like goes all out, she'll promote you and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Like, I was like, wow, she's on board, and like Tiff Lambert got on board, and all these people were on board. And it was huge. I remember my PayPal was like, because I wasn't seeing the payments for the front end sales. He was dealing with those. But it was huge, like the OTO sales and stuff. Thanks. So I would only see the OTOs come in. They were coming in like crazy those few days. I mean, it was like a 3-4 day launch, and they were coming in, and I think we made like at least $1,000, which means he made $1,000 and I made $1,000. Now here's what I later found out. This guy is so dodgy. I'd like to tell this because I think that people need to realize what the heck's going on sometimes before you team up with someone. After our launch in September 2015, that first white label audio launch, I had signed up to this guy's list. My partners, I wanted to see what he was promoting, and I tested the funnel and stuff, so I was on his list anyway. And I get this email one day, or no, it wasn't that. I get an email that bounces back as a reply to me in my inbox. This was like a month after our white label audio launch, and I'm still trying to pull things together. I was having a hard time. I'm still working. And I get this email, and this guy asked me this question, and he's like, hey, I saw that you promoted this white label music product. Now, white label music is what it was called, and he says it has 35 songs in it. He just wanted to know if it was the same as your other product. And I'm like, wait, what are you talking about? I didn't promote a white label. So I was like, hey, can you do me a favor and send me that, forward me the email. And he forwards me this email, okay, and it's from Darren Ross at membercenter.us. That's the guy's site he sends from. Okay, and it's an email that looks just like his crappy emails, and it's coming out, it's promoting some white label music product that he had put out, and it was the garbage songs, like people have, they were so bad. And he's putting white label music. Now, I own the rights to the white label audio thing, so this guy's sending out emails as me to a list that we built, pretending to be me and making commissions, and not, if he was paying me, it'd be a different story if I was seeing money from that. But he's literally pretending to be me and making money from it. So I freak out. A bunch of people had messaged me. They said, hey, you this, and I was like, no, okay. So I immediately get on my email list, and I send an email, and I say, this is not me. This is, if you get an email from I only ever email you from these 2 email addresses, and it was like my personal Gmail, and one was my one that I do my mailing list from. I said, if you see that flag, that it's spam. The other one, I was like, the unsubscribe from it is not me. I would never, first off, my emails are really long and they're really personal. They've always been that way. Once I started email marketing, I realized that's like my thing. I just like telling stories and being personable. That's how it seems to work for me, and it seems to connect. So mine was, I was like, anytime you get an email from me, it's going to be longer. It's going to be personable. It's not going to be 30 lines. There are 30 characters in a line. That's how he formats his things. So, they're like real short lines for mobile. And I was like, I have mine formatted a special way and everything. So I got all these responses that were like, oh, I'm horrified. Like, that's really scary that I got that email. And it was someone pretending to be you. Now, after I found that out, I was like furious. I was thinking, what should I do? And I reached out to the partner, and I was like, what is this, and why is it? I sent him a picture of it. I was like, why? What? And he did it like 3 times before apparently he had sent 3 emails out before I had found out. So I was like, first off, don't ever use my name to promote anything that is music related, unless it's my own product. Like, don't ever do that. And I was like, second off, don't ever use my name to promote anything, period. Like, what are you doing? Are you crazy? What is this? Like, what are you doing? And it became a joke between me and Arun Chandran, who's my good buddy. You know him.
Right, yeah.
It became this joke that we blame everything on our staff. Now, like, whenever something happens with support, take it out. Just be like, this guy literally tells me, he goes, oh, it must have been my staff. Wait, so you train your staff to take emails and pretend to be someone else and send them out for your part? Like I can't even say enough stupid things about. I mean, that's unreal. That was the first like red flag that was like I don't know if I can keep working with him, but I did because I was so desperate.
Were you still at that point? Okay, were you still even through this? Were you still feeling motivated? Like you still felt like because I mean, clearly what you were doing was working, but I mean, this is another setback.
Mm-hmm.
So were you still positive about doing internet marketing at this point?
Well, here's what's so funny about that. I hadn't sent an email out yet to my list after that launch, and this idiot was sending out emails as me to the leads. So I hadn't even introduced myself to my leads, and this idiot's already ruining my reputation. So I had to send out an introduction email and explain that. And I was discouraged when I found that out. I was like, this is what internet marketing is, really, like getting screwed over by someone that's like dodgy. It's supposed to be your partner. And it's like, is this how they all are? You know, it makes you question it. Like, is this what's really going on behind the scenes? Are these partners that are like the ones getting screwed in these deals? So it really was. It was like hard to stay motivated. Now, what was it he did? And now we go back to July because I wanted to tell you that story. And the second thing, this is where it gets to the part that really becomes like glorious, where it's like, this is really bad. We had the launch in July 2006.
It's pretty bad. It's just pretty bad at this point. But
I know it is. It is. I can't. I mean, I'm really bitter at that. Like at this point, I'm like angry, and I was still talking to the girl. My girlfriend is she's my girlfriend now, but it's like, I was so mean to everyone in my life because I was like, this guy's screwing me over. So of course I was just going to be bitter about everything. I was so bitter about everything because it was like, I'm dealing with some idiot and he doesn't care about me at all. He's asking me to pay the JV prizes out. He's not giving me updates on the sales. He's not helping me with the funnel. And here's what happened. Anytime the sale, like if the funnel didn't convert, he would yell at me. Like he would complain to me and just make me feel terrible about it. And it's like, you didn't help me do anything. And you're complaining to me about it. So he would like beat me down and then I would still come back up. So we did this account security lockdown launch and it was huge. I mean, it should have got product of the day. It was up number 1 and 2, like for the whole launch, pretty much the whole 3 days. And then the last day was like mid range on the top sellers. It just went huge. That was when I knew. I was like, okay, well, the PLR, like ebooks, business in a box, those things sell. That was when I knew that like that was the thing. It sold better than the lead magnets. It made me $1,000. It was a good, it's good.
Right. Yeah.
As soon as I made the $1,000, I immediately hired someone to write the next ebook, and it was the self-esteem engagement book that I released in October. Now this is what's interesting. I found a good writer. I paid a good, like not too much. I got a really good deal on it, and she was just phenomenal. It's just a wonderful writer. So I had the second thing written. That the hardest part was done. Writing the ebook is just horrific for me. Like it's not hard, but it's like going through it when it's like 14,000 words or 11,000.
You gotta really like to write, yeah.
Yeah, it's just tiring. And then you gotta proofread it and stuff, and that's even more tiring. And then you gotta take it and turn it into a script. Take it and turn it into a script to do video. Like it's so much work. And then the PowerPoint, you gotta turn into a PowerPoint. So it's like all these things. It was easy enough to just, if I had her write it, that part was done. So all the while I have that. Now, the same week of the account security lockdown, I had already redone the lead magnets. I had spent what money I had. I redid the second lead magnets product and the whole funnel. Like I had built a better funnel, but I knew it would convert. It's the same one I use now. So, I know it converts. And I send it to my partner. I'm like, okay, this is what we got to launch this by the end of this month because the plan was 1 lead magnets product launch a month, and that's what I do now. And I said, you got to launch this by the end of July. You have to, or we're going to have to do it privately, and that would suck. So he tells, his 4 partners, his syndicate, and only, 2 of them promote. And you actually worked with one of them for a long time. We had talked about this.
Yeah.
And so we got, 100 front-end sales, maybe, and none of that went to us. Well, I didn't see it. And then, it converted well enough to bring me 300 to 400 on the back end with just that small amount. So I was like, okay, well, this funnel converts. I know it converts, but this idiot didn't send enough traffic and didn't make it a public. It was a private launch. That's what he told me. We were doing a private launch. Now, here's the other dodgy thing I found out about it. I just remembered it. He always wanted to host these products on his JVZoo account. Okay,
Uh-huh.
he never went, and I always was like, well, they're my products. Why shouldn't I have them? Oh, well, no, bro, because I have the connections and stuff that'll look better on my account. So like, oh, well, whatever. I'll just, why not? I'll just believe him. I'll believe him at the time. I later found out that he has like 10 JVZoo accounts, and you know this, and everyone knows this, so it probably just I probably just blew up his identity. But I found out that the reason he wanted to host them on his account is because he was promoting. If you have a JV contract, even if you send the front end sale, 50% would go to me. $7, $30 would go to me, and $3 go to you. He was sending sales through his other accounts so that he would keep 100% of the front end, and even more. I would get he would keep 75% of the upsells. And I quickly caught on to that he was doing it. I had a feeling he was doing that. And then I confirmed it after I started things started falling apart by the end of July. I was like, he's got to be doing this, because there's no way. One time he sent me a screenshot of his seller account, and he had made more money than me that day. And I mean, granted, sometimes you get sales of other products. That did happen to me during this launch.
Right.
But,
yeah.
He had made $250 more than me in that day, and it didn't make sense to me. I was like, why does he have more? And he was complaining that it was a bad launch. So I had $300 in my account, and he had almost 600. And I was like, why am I seeing that? And he's like, yo, bro, it's not converting very well. But I was like, what the heck? I had there's so many weird things he had been doing that led me to believe that. But yeah, that's what he was doing to me. So of course he wasn't hurting for money. Of course he wasn't upset about the way the launch turned out. He was making way more money than me. And all along I had, it took me the longest time to figure it out. So the second lead magnets launch private makes me no money. I was furious at that point. I was like, this is ridiculous. Why wouldn't you just launch it? Even if you just post it on your Facebook, he has all his affiliates on as his friends. Even if you just post it and say, hey, you guys want to promote this, people will promote it. There's tons of PLR vendors. And so he, it's just his 4 friends that promoted it rather than doing that. And at that point I was like, all right, well, let's plot our escape. But the problem was, I had my list. I had the 400 people from the white label audio launch, the first one. Mm-hmm. He had sent me the 200 or 300, I think, or maybe 400 from the second 2 launches. And then he sent me the leads from the lead magnets launch. And he sent me the leads from the account security lockdown launch. And at that point, I had almost 2,000 leads total with the exit pop-ups and stuff. That time I had a lot. And I was like, well, I have a lot. That's a lot. You can make a lot of money.
Now, for internet marketers, just maybe if they're new, mm-hmm. when you say somebody sends you the leads, mm-hmm. Talk about what that means. It kind of means they're sending you a file, right?
Yeah. He would export it from his membership, because he had the worst way to protect the files. I would wake up with 60 support tickets, and they would be cursing me out. Oh, I felt horrible. During launches, I literally avoided my computer because I was so scared of the magnitude of the anger and the support ticket. It was unreal. I mean, I should make a compilation of the tickets. Some of the people, they were like, you're the biggest idiot ever. How could you have such a stupid process? I'm sorry, it's not me. I would always say, it's my stupid partner. I was trashing the tickets. I was like, he's an idiot. I'm done with him. He's so stupid.
Oh, man.
It was funny. And people would actually, people that open support tickets, they'd be like, just so you know, the guy you're working with is really shady, and you should probably get, I actually caught those as the launches went on. And I was like, wow, okay, so this, I got to get away. I got to get away from him. But, he sent me all these leads. I had almost 2,000 leads. A bunch of them were in Aweber, because that's how I was doing the exit pop-up. Mm-hmm. But I had, almost 1,000 leads, a little over 1,000 leads that I had to import. Maybe it's 1,500 leads that I had to import into an autoresponder, because they're useless if you don't have an autoresponder.
Correct.
So I go to import them into Aweber, and, it takes a day or so sometimes. And I go to import them, and I wait a day or two. I'm like, all right, cool. There's a promo coming up in later that week, and I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna have a crap load of leads to sit there and mail to. This will be really great for me. And the launch day, it's the day before the promo I was going to send out, and I go in, I look in, and they still didn't import. And I go to import them again, or it was 2 days before, I go to import them again, and they still didn't import. And I was like, what the heck? So then I look in there, and there's an error message they sent me that they were too high of a spam risk. They felt that I was just going to get tons of spam complaints. So I literally I couldn't do anything. So I tried GetResponse, and they rejected it. I tried MailChimp, and they suspended me because I later found out you can't do affiliate marketing on there.
Right, yeah.
And then I tried SendLane, and even SendLane, which amazes me. I mean, there's some crazy spammers on there. Even SendLane would not approve my list. Okay, so that something was going on.
Yes, it was wrong. Yeah.
So at this point, I tell my partner, I'm like, dude, you got to help me. Like, and I gave him, I pitched another method to him. I'm like, why don't we just put an opt-in form and make people sign up, and then I'll even pay for the Aweber. We'll share an Aweber account. And that's what I said to him. And I was like, we'll just make them sign up and then bounce them the thing. I don't even care about protecting the files anymore at this point.
Right on, yeah.
And he's like, no, bro, no. His response, I even quoted it in my post. He says, no, bro, mainstream autoresponders suck. You need to join the top dogs. And he says that he has some private one that he uses, and he'll try and get me a special deal for it. So I'm like, oh, okay, maybe my partner is looking out for me, you know? Okay, well, if he's, like, I had to believe what he was saying, because it's like, oh, well, he's using he is friends with some big guys.
Top dogs, right? Yeah.
And so I figure, okay, a week goes by, and I message him like, hey, bro, did you get that figured out yet? And he says, oh, yes, bro, here's the link. And he sends it to me, and it's for this thing, and you can sell product. It's kind of like...
Right, yeah. It's a start to finish thing. I think a lot of us got it when we first got started.
Yeah. It was like the big deal. So he uses that, and he sent me this link, and he's like, here, it's private. They'll set you up private. You know, you just got to pay this thing. And I said this in my post, it was $297.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's just for the setup. And then it was $97 a month. Now, if marketers out there, and they know, and you know, I mean, you usually pay based on how many subscribers you have. And I had, you know, between 1,000 and 2,000, and I was paying like $20 a month on Aweber.
Right.
I would have been still, even with all of them, even if I had all of them in there, I only had like 500 in Aweber, and I was still, you know, I'd be paying. So he's saying, he goes, bro, no, bro, $97 is nothing. You'll make so much money from, like, no, I know I'll make a lot of money from my, like, I know that there's power in the list, but like $97 a month, dude, and like you're making me pay $400 up front, okay, just to get this set up. And like we weren't even, that was almost all the money I had from the launch. So I sit there and I wait for like 2 weeks. You know, I had tried to try other solutions, and I kept getting rejected. So I said, all right, I sucked it up. I said, all right, dude, I'll buy it I bought it, and I waited until like August, the beginning of August, to do this, because I was just like such torn. I was like, do I pay like $400 to this idiot that I don't like anyway? And here's the part that pissed me off. Okay, when I clicked the link to go to pay, it went to the Delavo cart, and it was going to pay him. I'm not stupid, okay? You and me are not dumb. We can figure these things out. You can piece.
It went to the affiliate, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it went, and I could see that I was literally just paying him one of his other aliases that he has. And I was paying him, and he was pretending like he was going to have his staff set up. Maybe he does have a staff. I don't know. I could care less. But it's like, I could see that, and that pissed me off. It's like literally this guy's hosing me. He's telling me he's giving me some secret private service, and he's just making me pay him directly. Like, it's not some service he's using. He's just ripping me off and trying to trick me and think I'm stupid. But I did it.
You felt constrained. You just had to kind of get on.
Yeah, I said, I just got to get a list and make this money and do the thing. So I said, all right, I'll pay it. I paid it. It took him a week to set it up. Okay, so I paid this, and I'm paying $97 a month. It took a week before he sends me the deal. I bugged him every day. I was like, bro, come on, dude. Like, are you going to reimburse me for a week now? Like, come on. This does not take 7 days to install a self-hosted mailer on your server. It doesn't. It takes like 10 minutes. And I was really late. I was stopped being really nice to him at that point about someone. I saw, like, I was being polite enough, because that's how I function in business. I do get rude when people like give me attitude, or when I get like a chargeback and someone doesn't even contact. So like, I do get rude, but I try to be as polite as I can from the start. Even when people are rude to me, I'm just, you know, kill them with kindness. So I would always be like kind to him, but I was really starting to be like sick of it. I was like, come on, dude, this is stupid. You're being an idiot. I'm not dumb. And he would be like, oh, sorry, bro, we'll get it fixed. So a week goes by, and he sends me access, and I log in, and it's ARPReach. Now, ARPReach, you can get a license for like $300. I think you can get like a white label license, and you can set it up for clients and sell access to it. So I'm assuming he probably already had his license to it, because he was using ARPReach as well. I know that's what he was using. So so he charged me like $300 initial startup, and that was basically for not just to pocket. I'm assuming maybe he paid like $50 to someone to set it up on the server, and then, you know, the $97 a month. I mean, I could buy a private server for that and mail out from it for that price easily. For $300 or $100 a month, you can get one from SendLane or SendGrid. That's what I do now. I actually pay, you know, I don't have a private one anymore, but I pay through Mailgun. I was using SendGrid, but it's like, you can get private server for like $60 a month.
Yeah.
And that's all you got to do is wire it up to something. So that's all, like, he was sending out from we were sending out from the same server, and he said Aurelius Chin uses that, and I was looking at Aurelius's emails, and he was using the same server. So I said, okay, well, I'll buy it. I'll buy it. And I sent out a couple, I started email marketing. What I was doing, I knew I had to make up for lost time. I had these leads that I had not mailed in months. And they had been on my, quote unquote list for months, but I hadn't contacted them. So I was like, all right, let's make up for lost time. I sent out a very, very like personable first email. I said, this is the first time you're here, sorry, it's taken me so long. And I explained the whole story about how I was trying to get situated and I couldn't, this whole thing. I was just really personable. And I said, I had a whole bunch of lead magnets. Like I'd been planning over the weeks before that. I would make I used to do one a week. Now I do one every other week. Like I just give them a free lead magnet with the PLR. Like it could be on any random niche or anything. I just give it to my list each week. I just give it to them for free. And that's like my good, because I appreciate their support, and I get people that say you're so kind to give. Like that's a big pack. You're giving someone a whole thing with the 10 modules and everything. They can just set it up and do whatever they want.
That's cool.
And that was my thing, and I gave out like 6 of them away when I first introduced myself. I had a whole bunch, and I said, "Here you go. Like you guys just take them and enjoy it." And like I think I got like 30 or 40% open rate, which is unreal. And the clicks on the thing, it was like 300 clicks or something, like on the thing to download it. And I got all these responses, and people were like, "Oh, cool. I was wondering, like a blah blah," and just everyone was really cool. It was really neat. I was like, "Whoa, this is interesting." So then. There was an affiliate, like I think Edmund had opened up one of his. It was like 9 PLR for $9. He had reopened.
$9.
Yeah.
PLR, yeah.
Yeah, and that was one of the first PLR I bought years ago, and I thought, oh well, cool, let's try it out. Let's email. So I emailed out to my list and said, hey, Edmund was always Edmund was really cool to me. Like he was the first marketer that accepted my friend request when I added him on Facebook, and he was the first one that accepted my affiliate requests on JVZoo when I started actually taking it seriously. And I would ask him like feedback and just talk to him, and like he would get back to me some of the time. Sometimes he knew it was like, I'm not going to deal with this guy, but he was really always like a good guy, like nice to me and stuff. So like I applied for his product and I sent an email out, and I think I got like, not right then and there, but over the course of like a month, people would go back. I think I got like 15 or 16 sales of that for a PLR that was like years old. And I told him, I was like, this is good, because it was a good, it was the good $9 PLR. It was a good product, especially for $9. I mean, you can do whatever you want. That's a steal.
Well, and I mean, he, like as you said, he's a good guy, and what's coming from him, you got good confidence that what you're sending out is going to be good.
Exactly. I knew Edmund. It's like he wasn't the guy that was sending 40 emails a day. He's sending, one email every couple of days or every day, if that, and he's telling, he's honest and stuff. I liked Edmund, and I still like Edmund. And so, I mailed out for that, and I thought, okay, well, here's some money's coming in and stuff. But it wasn't like, okay, I forgot to mention this. The beginning of August, so beginning of August, I bought the mailing server and stuff. I had it all set up. During the week, I was waiting for it to get set up. I sent my partner the 3rd lead magnets launch. Okay, so I'm still doing stupid things. I'm still partnering with him, letting him shank me. And he sets it up for the August. It was like August 12th or something. It was right around my sister's birthday. And it launches, and it's doing like, it was public, and it did really well. I think we made like 300. It did well in terms of like front end, but it got like $300 or $400, I think. And at that point, I was like, all right, this guy, I'm done with it. I knew I was done with him. But I had just like, I knew we were winding down. I said I was going to quit by December with this guy. And I said, let's just make it. Let's just tough it out, do as many launches as we can with him, build my list, because he has the connections. And I didn't know at the time that I could network with affiliates, like you. I didn't know it was that easy, like to reach out to guys like you and just talk to them. I was always scared because this partner kind of made me, like, here's what happened. My launch in 2014, I did exactly what I learned to do. What I learned from Edmund reading his blogs. You reach out to affiliates a month in advance, and you ask them, you invite them to your launch.
Right.
And I emailed everyone that I could think of that was a big that someone that would fit their list. And I emailed all kind of like Source Code Goldmine and Jeremy Burns and all these Naked PLR and all these different people. And my partner, who became my partner, was involved with them, and he like messaged me and says, you sent out all these unsolicited invitations. And I was like, Okay, first off, I didn't know that that was considered unsolicited. I still don't know if that's unsolicited. I was very polite. Um,
Right, yeah.
and he kind of like chewed me. I was like, you can't do that. And I was like, so he kind of scared me into thinking that I could never do this on my own. As we went on, as the years went on, I just believed that it was like, oh, well, I'm never going to. I figured that I had to have a really, really big launch, and I had to have a big list to be on leaderboards to get affiliates to, to notice me, and then I wouldn't need this partner anymore. That's how I thought it would be. And it is kind of like that. I mean, that is how you get.
To some degree, right, yeah.
Like once I started showing up on leaderboards, that's when the guys that were part of my partner's little syndicate group, his friends, they started reciprocating for me. It's like, whoa, this guy knows how to bring the heat to the, to launch. But it was, so the launch goes, and this is where it got really bad. August, we had our launch. It did like, made like $300, $400. And I'm like, all right, send me the leads for this. So I was starting to get like kind of picky. I was like, send me the leads, and send me the leads for something that he had some other ones that he had to send me the leads for. And he would just he would withhold them from me. He was just an idiot. He was lazy. He was like, oh, I'll tell my staff to bounce it out. Like, dude, you don't know how to log into your, he used wishlist member. You don't know how to log into wishlist member and click the button that says export members and drag it into Facebook Messenger and send it to me. You don't know how to do that. You have to ask your staff, like, wow, that's just a BS excuse if I've ever heard one. So we're coming towards the end of August. I was already mad after that third launch. At that point, I was like, this is it. We're just be mutual with him. Don't go out bad. Mm-hmm. This is where we get to that part of my post where I say, all right, I got this brilliant idea. I needed money bad. I was still hurting, and I wanted to fund the next products. If I was going to keep going, I couldn't make it with $300 a product launch. It wasn't feasible. That was just not going to cut it for me to keep developing them. So I say, I have the 4th lead magnets product, which just came out last month. I have it done. And I thought, well, why don't we test the funnel? Because I had redone some stuff in the funnel. I said, why don't we test it privately to my list and see how it converts? And that way I can bring in some money and break even on the product. And that way, whatever I make from this launch with the idiot will be, profit and won't hurt. I won't be as bitter. So I queue up this email. I set up the whole product, the whole funnel. Now, meanwhile, before this, I had sent him white label audio, the lead magnets volume 4, and the self-esteem engagement PLR. I sent him these 3 products, and I said schedule them as soon as possible. Like, I need money. We need to get these going. And he had went to America to visit his dad. He hadn't seen his dad in like years or something, some garbage. And he's like, he says, I'll do it when I get back from my trip. Now his trip ended up being like 2.5 months. Okay.
Wow. And
if you have your staff, like he always brought up his staff, why don't you just have your staff schedule the things on JVC? That's all he literally had to do was schedule, putting products on JVC. You could hire a virtual assistant to do that. It's really easy. You could probably set up like a macro to do it for you on your computer. Mm-hmm. And so he just kept always fed me garbage. So anyway, I queued up this email, and I'm like, I had put my buy buttons on the lead magnets page, and I'm like, all right, I'm all excited. I'm like, this is it. I'm gonna, we'll see how it goes. I'm really nervous, and I queued up. It was the beginning of September, like maybe it was the last week of August. Regardless, it was like a Wednesday, and I remember I sent the email out at like 11, and I'd woken up late that day, and I went and got in the shower and got cleaned up, ready for the day, and was making lunch, and the mailing server. Well, here's what happened. I got to tell this too, because in September, the mail server went down again that we were using. Right before, or August, it went down again. Right before I was going to send this email, it went down, and I sent him. I messaged him and I say, what's going on? He's like, oh, you got a spam complaint for one of your emails, and so our server, I had to get a new server. And I was like, well, okay, I don't think that one spam complaint would ruin the server. And I know actually how to check those things. I knew how to check them, even though they had me like blocked out. I was checking them in ARP Reach so I could see like if I was getting a spam, and I didn't get one. I barely had any unsubscribes anyway. I had like 10 maybe from my list because it was like a couple of my first emails. And he did this thing where he had a JV Daily Pick fake account, and he was sending out pretending to be JV Zoo. Product launch notifications. Like, when someone launches a product, they can send a notification to people on JVC.
Right. Yeah.
And he was sending these ones out and pretending like people were sending launch notifications out, but when you clicked, like, it would look like their email, but it had like a disclaimer on the bottom. When you clicked it, it would take you out with his affiliate link to the product. And he was sending like 10 of those a day at least, and that's why he was ending up on leaderboards. Like, he was duping so many people. And that's what got him the spam complaints, because people were catching on to that and flagging that kind of stuff. And he's just when you sign up to this dude's list, you literally get on like 10 lists, and they're all like his make-believe staff, if they even exist. Like they'll all come from Member Center. So if you have an email from Member Center, you know who this guy is. Anyone who's listening, you'll get them, and they'll be like relentless. You'll get like 5 emails in a day. They all say the same thing, but they're all from like different members of his staff. And when you click it, they all go out to his affiliate link.
Wow.
So it's like impossible to get off this guy's list. Like I have flagged, like I'm on his list now, and I'll flag them, and he'll keep re-adding me. Like I just flagged him because I hate him now. I just don't like him. I'm just trying to sabotage him, and it's like. But it's like, so the server goes down, and he feeds me this crap, and it's like, okay, so now you're shafting me even worse. Like, now I'm back to square one. I have no list again. Now I'm like, it's basically all this is gone. I just paid this dude $400, and this thing's not working. So I go out and I venture out. There's all kinds of self-hosting things you can find. So I find one called Mailways. The Mailways is really cool. It's on Code Canyon, and I check it out, and it's like $50. And I say, $50? Well, heck. And then I find out like the cost of SendGrid and Mailgun, and it's like $10 a month for what the volume I'm sending out. So I'm going to pay $10 a month. I don't have to pay any fees to host my list. I bought a separate hosting account and set it up like a separate mailing domain, like it's my domain, somethingmail.com. Mm-hmm. And I have it set up, and I set up my own thing and put my list, and like, boom. So I'm like, I'm done with this partner at this point. I'm like, I don't need anything from him. I canceled the recurring payments. All this stuff. I was like, I was just so sick of it. So I queue up my email, and I send it out. It's 11 a.m., boom, I go and do my thing. And I come back, and it takes, because I was just getting used to this mailing thing, so it was sending out like 200 emails every like 15 minutes, so it was slow. Right, yeah. And all of a sudden, like an hour later, boom, a sale comes in. And, it's $7. And $7, 100% my money then. And a few minutes later, boom, $27, the OTO sells. And then like a few minutes later, I always call it like the moment of suspense between the front end sale and if you're going to get an OTO sale. Like you'll see it coming, you'll be like, come on, buy the OTO, come on. I always feel like I still do it with this launch. I'm like, come on. Then another OTO, then the second OTO, which was $37, comes in. So boom, like the first person that bought this dude bought all 3 of the things in the funnel, and I made like $60 right there. And because it was 27, 37, and like 7, something like, like a little over almost $71 or something. And then another front end sales, then another front end, then another one, and they start pouring in. And by like 2 p.m., I had made $500 or $500. And I'm sitting there like, whoa, like what is going on? People were messaging me, like emailing me, like this is awesome, like thank you so much. Please do more of these private offers. This is really great. And like some of them are actually like probably are on your list probably. Like you probably have talked to them. They probably talk to you too.
Right, yeah.
You get those kind of people that they buy everything you put out, and they're like, hey, this is amazing, or they'll give you like feedback and stuff. And those are the ones that I love. Like they buy all the OTOs, and I mean, I love all the customers, but it's just funny you see those ones that always interact with you. And it's like that's when I realized, like, I was like, wow, this is it for me. So $500, and they're still trickling in for the rest of the day. Like I was so happy that day. I was like, just completely full of glee. So the day ends, and I'm like, wow, like I took a screenshot of it. Like this is like, boom. Never has this ever happened in my life. Never ever made $500 like boom on a product launch like that. From my own list. That was my own promo. So
you're seeing all the money.
Yep.
You saw all the money, right? Yeah.
So the second day comes, and I make like I think like $200 or $300, and it was just I didn't even promote it. I hadn't even posted it, and then people were just seeing the email from yesterday. So then I was like, maybe I'll send out another email like the next day, like it's Friday then, and I'm like, let's send out a reminder, and I'll give them the free lead magnet that I give out each week, every other week. And so I'm like, okay, boom, I draft up this email, and I send it, hey, reminder, 24 hours left, or whatever it was, or yeah, it was, I forget what I did. I did 7, or I don't know, I sent out another, I was 12 hours left or something like that. I had extended the offer, and boom, like another $400, $500 came in with that email that day. And I was like, whoa, like over $1,000 from that. And I'm seeing all of it, and I was like, okay, not only did I break even, because I wrote most of those lead magnets that time because I was tired of losing money, not only did I totally break even on this thing, but I made a bunch of money, like a bunch. And I was like, all right, I was like so stoked. And then I'm thinking, okay, the first thing, it's like I've gotten into this habit with the business. The first thing I think I was, okay, what ebook am I hiring for next, or what product am I developing next? That's what I made. I said I made. We'll get to that. Then I made a bunch of money this month, and all I'm doing right now is literally hiring for ebooks and hiring for products. I get some spending. It's all going right into it because, it's just have it on autopilot. So, I do that first launch. It goes really well. Then a week later, I was like, okay, well, I'll do one next week. Why not? I have another product. So I decided to do the self-esteem product, the PLR product, and I launched that one, and that one made me like almost $1,500 in the same amount of time. And then I was like, whoa. So I made almost like close to $3,000 from these two products, launching them privately to my own list. This is my own list on my open.
Right, and I mean, this is all on your own. There's no partners.
Yep.
So this was finally what you had been kind of looking for.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is what it was, the whole pipe dream the whole time. This was what it was. It was like, wow, so the money's in this. Like, I can do it. I call my mom. I'm living at home with my parents. I call my mom. I was like, mom, check this out. I did it again. Like, she was like, oh, that's so exciting. Like, she was kind of a naysayer because it's like my parents are both. I think my dad's 60 now. My mom's almost 60. So, in their time, you didn't make $1,000 in a day online. You didn't get on the computer. You got finished school. You either got a really, job, or you went to college. If you even went to college, which was a privilege, and then you got a job full time, and you worked full time. You worked 50 hours a week, 40 hours a week, and it was really hard. You didn't sit in front of your computer and diddle around like I do, and that's what bothered my dad so much, and he still doesn't really side with me. I haven't even told him how much I've been making. I can't break it to him yet, And
we live in Mennonite country, right?
We do.
So yeah. That's a whole nother dynamic. Yeah.
It is. It's like he cannot fathom the idea. Like, he still refers to it as me playing video games all the time on the computer. He's like sitting there. I've heard him talk to him. He's sitting there all day playing video games on the computer. It's like, if you only knew, man, like, boom, like I made $1,000 in 24, off my own product, private launch. So, I'm sitting here and I got all that money coming in, and I'm like, okay, this is, not only can I fund the next two products or more, because I do a lot of my own modules myself, but I don't need this idiot anymore. I don't need him. So I had this stress lead magnets product all done, and that was actually my plan. I was going to start a second lead magnets product, and I was going to call it niche magnets. And I was still going to work with this partner, but I wasn't going to work with him on that brand. That was going to be my brand. So I scheduled this stress lead magnets launch for October 10th, and I start reaching out to affiliates. That was when I talked to Arun Chandran. He had added me on Facebook like a year back, and I was always scared to add people from the internet marketing scene. So I accepted him in like September 2016, and we start messaging on Facebook, and he's asking me, you made those songs? Oh, I was like, yeah, I wrote them. He's like, dude, they're phenomenal. They're amazing. And he was just like, oh, and you're so-and-so's partner? I was like, yeah. And he's like, oh, well, I'm not going to say anything. And I was like, oh, well, you can say something. And then that's when, like, he told me all this stuff, and I told him all this stuff, and he's like, dude, this is, like, scary, really scary. And he had told me, he's like, you don't need this guy. You don't need him, dude. I'm telling you, you don't need him to gather affiliates. You don't need him to be successful. And you've proven it. I showed him the screenshots of my income, and he goes, you clearly don't need him. Like, look what you're doing right now. He says, here's what I'll do. Like, we got to know each other a bit more and stuff. And I said, hey, well, I'm doing my launch next month solo, October 10th. And he had made a post for me on Facebook, and he tagged me in it and stuff. And he told all the, because he gets along with like everyone, and so he's like friends with everyone.
Yeah, he is that guy.
And
he is that guy.
Yeah. And it's like, I was so lucky that me and him became like best friends so quickly, because we're both goofy. He's way more goofy than me and out there, but like, I'm shameless, like I'll call people out and say, I'm not afraid to do that. And but it's like, he made this post and said, like, this is his product, check his product out. And like, Susie O'Day and Tiff Lambert and everyone just started adding me on Facebook, like just add me, and they were like, can I get review access? And I sent review access, and they would say, this is like the best PLR I've read for self-help in so long. It's just, and I had written those all myself. I did all of them myself. That whole funnel I did myself, basically, except for the voiceovers and whatnot. And so I was so proud of myself that I was working hard, and I didn't see praise at all from my partner. I'd never like gotten, even when the one in July did well, it was like, seems like you're doing well, bro. You know how to do this. Like, that's all the praise I got. Like, it wasn't like, oh, thanks for bringing us in 500 sales. Thanks for the $1,000. So it's like, so here's where it got really nasty though. This partner of mine, he had decided he was going to schedule the fourth lead magnets launch, and I had forgotten to remove my buy buttons from the page. So he's going through, and he gets there, and he sees that I had swapped buy buttons out, and they were all my own buy buttons. And he messages me on Facebook all one day, and I come back and he's like, bro, what the heck is this? Are we not launching anymore? What are you doing? And I was like, no, we're still launching anymore. I launched it privately. And he's like, what? I was like, well, yeah, I told you I needed money. I expressed to him multiple times. I said, dude, like, I need money really bad. I'm not doing well. If we're going to keep launching, this needs to work out better. He was just like all mad at me, and all he said I was screwing affiliates over and that I was ripping him off. I didn't remove the buy buttons from the membership site. I didn't use that as an OTO, so I did make the products. They are my products. I didn't feel like I was doing anything wrong. Well, he did, clearly, because he wasn't making money from my hard work.
Yeah.
And so he like freaked out on me, and he says, oh, okay, well, I said, here, I was like, dude, no one's buying it right now. The buttons are private. The buy pages, the sales pages are private. He's like, no. He's like, bro, you can launch this yourself, and I'll launch my own this week. Because he would do this thing where he would schedule a launch the same week as and he would just tell affiliates 2 days before the launch. Like, that's really good. It's really great form. In this scene, just tell people like last minute. I know affiliates really, I love that. It gives me plenty of time to prepare a bonus. Because then I get to stay up to like 4 a.m. preparing it, and stuff. I love that. That's my favorite. I usually try to give people at least 2 weeks. I usually give people enough to promote.
Well, at least that, right?
Yeah, like I give them enough assets with my launch, like swipes and all the material and stuff, that it's easy for them. Like some people give you the worst swipes ever, and you can't even talk the product up. And I always give review access. I'm like, here, take review access and look at it, and then you can make the call, that 12 days. Or I'll tell, like I'm doing now for people, I say, let me write your swipe for you, and then you can modify it, because I can tell you better about my product than anyone. But yeah, this guy freaks out on me. Oh, bro, we're not, blah, blah, blah. He's all mad. And I said, all right, whatever, dude. I just let it happen. I just laughed and said, okay, whatever, do your thing. And he launched his product, and it got like 5 sales. It was like this big software, but it was like garbage. It was such garbage, and it did like, seriously, no, it probably did like 20 sales, but like only people that promoted him were like the one guy I used to work with. That was the only person I saw mail out for his product in September. And I don't think it did well. So I was like, whatever. At that point, when he said, he gave me the thumbs up on Facebook. He always did that, and it pissed me off. He gave me the thumbs up and said, launch it yourself. And I said, all right, well, okay, cool. Thanks. That sounds good, man. And I was like, I just said, my response was, ha, 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 burn. Like, he literally did slap me in the face by saying, oh, well, he was mad at me for trying to make money on my product that we kept losing money on. But yeah,
and you sort of had a need, right? So it wasn't that you were trying to cheat anyone.
No.
You just kind of need to get some things in motion.
Mm-hmm. And the money that I made from those 2 private launches paved the way. I mean, I got like 2 more ebooks written and 2 lead magnets packages done, all written from those. I mean, I spent every cent I got from that preparing those next launches, because I was like, all right, well, this is what I got to do. That was all. The only reason I ever wanted money to begin with is because I was going to build the business, and then the bills which I'll explain then how I covered that then at the end of October after my launch. He was all mad. So a week later, he's still on. I was like, bro, you're traveling all over the place. I keep telling you to launch these things. He's like, I told you I was visiting my father in America. And I was like, dude, I don't care what you're doing. I'm still working. I still need money. And you have like Sajan Alentor and Justin Opie, and they didn't Sajan just went on a vacation for like a few months back, the whole month, and Justin took over the whole thing for him. It's like, that's how it works. Like, that's what's supposed to work. Like, they do their thing, and he probably was like, okay, we'll promote this, and they had their products lined up and stuff, and this guy didn't ever help me with anything. So it's like a week later, he comes back to me, and he says, he messaged me. He always said bro, like it was his way of getting me like in. That's his thing. He's like, bro, we need to talk. I'll be back then soon. We need to realign our JV partnership. And I screenshot that and sent it to Arun, and we were laughing so hard. It's like, he's like, dude, he will come crawling back to you after his launch. Watch how bad it does. He comes crawling back to you, and he's going to want you back, and that's when you can laugh in his face. And he came back, sure enough, and, we need to rely. I said, there is no JV partnership. That was my response to him. It's like, we're done. There's no JV partnership left, dude. We're done. He's like, what? And I just, like, that was when I went off on him. Like, I really, everything I just told you, like, it was all condensed. Like, I need money. I'm like, I was doing really bad mentally. You didn't give a crap about me. I feel like you've been screwing me the whole time. You haven't given me 50% for any of this like you said you would. You haven't been helping fund anything. You don't give me feedback. You're absent. the leads. You haven't sent me the leads from the launch we had in August. Keep in mind, he hadn't sent me those from that launch. Okay, and I had asked him like 12 times. And he just kept giving me an excuse. So I was like furious. I just totally laid into him, and he sent me the thumbs up thing, and he says, okay. Like, and I was like, this is ridiculous. That was when I was like just so done with it. And I had already been inviting people, to my launch for October. And I don't remember how it happened. Something happened, and I went out of town to go to this Share Festival. You might have heard of that. It's like this private festival, and my neighbor was in town, and she said, hey, she got an invite. She says, you want to go to it? So I was like, I don't go out. I've been working like 60 hours a day.
Yeah.
And I was like, I would love to. You know what? I debated, and I remember sitting at my computer, and I was like, do I want to leave my house, or do I want to sit here and be miserable? Do I want to sit here and be miserable all day? And so I was like, all right, I'm going out. I'm going to get out of my element. I was, that whole month of September, I was doing new things. I had sent my emails. I had tried new things. I had stood up to my partner. I had met all these new marketers and really went out of my comfort zone. So it was like I kept kind of putting myself into those situations. I was like, this is working really well for me. It's like the Yes Man, that movie. He says yes to everything. And right, yeah. And it's like, I said, yeah. I said, we'll go. So I go to this festival, and I had a blast. I was up to like 5 a.m. I get home, and I sleep in all day then. And I wake up to a message from Arun, and he's like, hey, Darren, so-and-so is trying to sabotage your name now. He's going around and he's telling everyone you can't be trusted, and not to promote your launch, and that you screwed him over and all this stuff. So I literally woke up at like 4 p.m. and go to my computer, and that's the first thing I see is a message from this partner now. He's trying to screw me. As if he didn't screw me enough, like he's now taking it to a whole new level of trying to...
He made it public.
Yeah, now he's like trying to stop me from succeeding. It's like, wow, like you didn't you did all this to me, and you couldn't even let that happen. Like you couldn't even let me get further, go on, at least try on my own. He told me that he was like, I'll see to it that people will never promote you. You are ungrateful and rude to me and all this stuff. It's like, ungrateful and rude? Wow, I made you like 2,000 leads and launches and like thousands of dollars, and I'm ungrateful. I even paid you like $400 for an email service, and that somehow I'm ungrateful. So my launch happens, I just, Arun's like, don't step up to him, don't stand up to him, just let it happen and keep your nose clean and have your launch, because the good people will promote you, and the good always prevails. Like the good, honest marketer is always going to come out on top if you have a good product and you're an honest person. He says, like, I can see that that's who you are, and that's why he helped me get affiliates, and he wasn't even taking a cut. He helped me get affiliates because he truly believed that I was a good dude and I had best intentions, and he was disgusted by what I went through. He just couldn't believe that. He's like, wait, you made this product and you made that product? I was telling him all these ones. He's like, I have this, I bought this one and this one. Like he actually was on my mailing list and stuff, because he had been a customer for that long. And he's like, oh, I've seen your emails and stuff. He's like, no wonder I've been on your list for so long. Because like he's like, you made the white label audio? Holy crap, dude! What are you doing with this guy?
Right. Yeah.
So I keep my nose clean, and I have like Tiff Lambert, and I have Susie O'Day, and I have the one affiliates that you like really want on board because they're very personable. Right. Kate Rieger is she's just phenomenal, and so my launch comes October 10th, and it goes live, and like boom, it was the top 3 on JVZoo like all day, I believe, that whole day. It did so well. I think it did almost 400 funnel sales, which was like good for my first like actual solo.
Phenomenal.
Launch. Yeah, I mean, and I made the back end did so well. It converted so incredibly well, and I didn't even have one of the OTOs in it that I planned to. I mean, it converted so well. I think we got like almost 50 membership site sales, and at that point I was selling it at $9.95 because my partner wasn't involved. So it was easier. I had 50% of that, $4, and I can deal with 100 sales of that each month. That's good money,
Right. No, I get it.
And it's better than $2 times 100. I have $200 was like laughable if I was doing that if I was splitting it with my partner at $9.95 a month. So I think we got 50 sales of the membership and the OTO. I mean, I made almost like 2,000. I think 2,000 from that launch was profit for me, and that was after paying out JV prizes and everything. And I built my list by like I think 240 people that time.
Right. Yeah.
It was phenomenal, and I had my own download process, so I was able to connect with my buyers as soon as they bought. I was able to send out that welcome email and establish myself with them, and I would get emails, like as soon as I'd send that out, I would get emails back. I'm like, you seem like a really cool guy. Like your product's phenomenal. I would love to stay on your list. And that's like what I needed all along. So that launch it was just amazing. It went so good. And then I had actually scheduled another one at the end of October, but it was for my other brand, Clockwork PLR, and that was the Self-Esteem PLR. And now keep in mind I had soft launched that like 6 weeks prior or so. But that one I launched, and Susie O'Day promoted it, and Tiff and Kate and all them. And I think Tiff Lambert drove 100 front-end sales by herself to this. I mean, she did like a solo, it was just me in her email. She wrote 100 front-end sales. And she had said in her thing, she had said to me, she said, this is the best self-help PLR I've read in years. And she's like, you need to tell your writer that she is phenomenal. And I said, oh, she wrote 2 more books for me, actually. So you can expect to see more from her. But she said, this is amazing. Like, don't ever cheap out on quality. Like, you are doing so good. And she said that in her email. Like, this is phenomenal. It's the best thing. And boom, like 100 front ends. She seriously like just dominated that contest. No one had a chance. It was just amazing, the support. And that one got me like, it did better than the lead magnets one, the stress lead magnets. And it made me another like $2,000. So like, I was up to like $4,000 almost there. Boom. And like, I think it was like $3,500 after paying out JV prizes and stuff. But it was like, wow, like boom. And I only had like 8 affiliates promote that one at first. And it was like all the good ones that were promoting. You don't have any of the garbage affiliates or the stupid people sending 500 clicks and 3 sales.
Now at this point, were you even remembering, right? Were you even remembering what, the point where you were at before, when you felt like you were at the low point? Were you cognizant of that?
Every day, all the time. It's still surreal to me, which I'll tell you then, we'll get to that. I don't want to take too much time, obviously. I don't know if I'm keeping you or anything. I think this is a really good story, though, because it's like,
it's a good story.
People don't tell this.
This is the dirty truth.
You don't get this truth from other marketers. If I'm having a bad week, I'll tell you. If things went bad on a launch, I'll tell you. If I made first place in a leaderboard thing, I will tell my list and I'll say, this is because, like I sent out when I did my like second place, and the first thing I emailed my list and said, the subject was, look what you did. And inside I was like, this is because you guys are so awesome and you showed me so much support that like I just swooped into this leaderboard like with 60% conversions on the front and just like dominated because of you. And I have no clue why you show me such great support. I can't thank you enough. It's so like, and I'll like tell my list that I tell them like when I make a lot of money or when something's successful, because it's like I want that transparency with my customers.
You want to have, right, yeah.
I want them to know that, like, I let them know. And like next year I'm going to start doing like a JV kind of thing with me where you can learn how I do my PLR products. And then we launch it together and stuff. Because like I have nothing to hide. I want everyone, like my secret to success, and I knew this all along and my partner had stopped it from happening. Secrets to success, there's 3 things. It's being passionate about what you do, creating a good product, doing the best you absolutely can in a product when you create it and put it out, and being completely honest and transparent with your customers, about your goal, about who you are, and what you're doing. They don't care about like certain things. Like there's some guys that just mail out dumb things again and again. Like these customers, they would rather hear, like when my mom had knee surgery in September, I talked about how I was so overwhelmed because I had been, I was helping her and I was doing my business and I was answering tickets and the launches were going on, and I'd say, I'm sorry, things are kind of behind. And everyone was like, don't worry. And I had like customers like reach out to me and say they ask if they could help. Like they're like, is there anything I can do? Like I'm not like, yeah. I'm not a veteran, but I can help you do this and that. I know some web design. I said, no, you don't. The only thing I want you to do is just keep opening my emails, keep reading them. And that's all I want. I just want to know that people are out there, and that's the solution for it, But the hard part is that this guy, I was every day I still think about it, and right after the launch in October 10th, it was like the 11th. I made this post or the 12th when it was doing really well. I made the post and I started to tell this story. It's part of the story, but it was more focused on the past 6 months of what this partner had done to me. And I kind of told about why it was so hard for me to get out and how this has just changed my life in the launch. And I said, now that the launch is doing well and he didn't sabotage this for me, I feel like I can be honest and tell the truth about what happened. And here's the funny thing. After I made this post on Facebook, Edmund Lowe reached out to me, and he's like good friends with this guy. This is my partner. And he says, wait, he says like, wow. He says, okay, so I read your post, and he goes, that's really messed up. He's like, I had no idea what was going on. When this guy told me not to promote you, he just said you couldn't be trusted, and he wouldn't tell anyone why or anything. And he says, what you just did was literally you one-upped him by not only telling the whole story, but you have all this proof and stuff to back it up. Like I told him, like I screenshot things and I proof, like I did an attorney a few years back. So by habit, I keep track records of everything and like all kinds of stuff. So I'm like, I'm used to that because you never know. So it's like we talk back and forth and he goes, you know, like he wouldn't like, he's not going to sit there and flat out bash his friend, but you can tell that it's like these guys, like different people reached out to me and they're like, I know he's shady and I know like, but he drives a lot of sales and he's really powerful and he's been a partner for a long time. And it's like, but after I made that post and I didn't say his name at all, it was just a very broad post like I did in the one yesterday. This partner, he had blocked me from messaging him on Facebook. He was like, I don't know why. He was the one who was being an idiot to me. He blocked me, so I couldn't even reply to him. So he emails me and he threatens to like sue me and that he's going to take me to court and that everyone knows who my partner was and that I slandered him. And I said, dude, I didn't say anything that wasn't true and I have all the proof. And I said, what you did was actually libel. If you lived in America, you could be in a lot of trouble making up a lie like that about a business person and like trying to sabotage their business. And he had like his other buddies that like went around and said like spread rumors about me too, like some of the ones that I would never talk to. I would never associate. Some of them are idiots, total just goofballs, and they have terrible. They sell a lot of WSOs and rip people off, and it's just like he sends me this email. He's like, he chews me out and acts like I was in the wrong. I was like, dude, I did nothing wrong, and jurisdiction. So like, if you want to come to America and try and sue me for like whatever, that'd be a really fun journey for you because it would not really work out. And I just said, give it up, dude. Give it up. Like, I'm not afraid of you anymore. And you're not going to hold me down. I don't need you. And do what you want. So like a month later, he messaged me back and he goes, all good. Time heals all wounds. Like, well, maybe time heals all wounds for you, dude, but it's not going to heal anything you ever did to me. Like, I'm still always going to resent this person and I will still always tell the truth about him, you know? Like if someone messaged me after this interview and was like, who is it? I would just tell you flat out. Like I'm not scared anymore. Like what is he going to do? It's just, I think people need to know about this because there's like this really bad dark side to all sides of internet marketing.
This is the down dirty truth. I might even title this interview just that. I mean, this is the long, dark, dirty truth of what sometimes you just go through and experience, right? Even when you're successful, you are having these things happen.
So actually, then it kind of brings me to the point because I think this, if you want to talk about this is important. It's where things have transformed so much for me, and it's been so successful that I've actually gotten to a point where I'm overwhelmed in a complete opposite way as I was when I was flat out broke. So you know, I started making good money at the end of October. You know, I had the 2 launches, and oh man, like. That was a lot of, I mean, I made more money, I'd said, well, we'll get to that then, but just from that month, I mean, almost more money than I had made all of 2015. That's a big deal, you know? And it was just like that, oh, wow, the power. And, you know, then you have the email list, and then you start promoting affiliate offers, and you see like $300 and $400 in your PayPal coming in, and it's like, wow, this is phenomenal. This is amazing. It's actually working. So I got to this point, you know, where I work very hard. I mean, I clock myself. This week was the first week I did not keep myself on the clock in like 7 or 8 months. So it's been really weird for me. I kind of just decided to take it and just do whatever this week. So, I'm working all the time, and it's gotten to the point where I have money I can spend on outsourcing certain things, but my problem is I only want to outsource the things when I know it's not going to sacrifice quality towards my business.
Correct.
And so I will work really hard and still keep working 60 hours a week. And I actually read something funny. Mark Zuckerberg did an interview recently in the last like year where he said someone asked him, or it was a question on Facebook. He was doing like a Q&A, and someone asked him how many hours he works on average. And he says, he said, well, it's hard to answer. He says, basically my whole life is dedicated to my work at this point. So I'm always constantly working. And I was like, as soon as he said that, it like rang to me because that's how it is at this point. You know, when you have your own business like this, your whole life is your work.
Yeah, it is.
And he says, but if you're talking about the time I'm actually in the office, I would say maybe just 50 to 60 hours a week. And I thought it was funny that he said just 50 to 60 hours. Because I was like, it never ends. It never ends. No matter how big and successful you get, the work never ends. And I look forward to that because it's the exact opposite would be me drinking and doing nothing and being a bum and playing video games if I didn't have the work to do. And so like I love working hard, but I have to get to this point now where I have the money coming in that I have to start. I am actually doing. I'm finding ways that I can train staff and find people to do things for me so that I can shift my focus and not being, so exhausted.
Right, yeah.
So it's like last month I actually had 2 launches scheduled for last month, and we only got one. I only got one because as the month went on, I realized that I'm at this point where I'm doing so much work that I am becoming overwhelmed that I have to start outsourcing. And I will have to start, it was always about that I needed enough money to outsource people that aren't going to screw the quality. I just said that, the quality, and it's very important to me to maintain that level. So if I have to sacrifice my own profit margin to do that, I have no problem doing that. At the end of the day, it's always about that. Like with the writers, every writer I hire for an ebook, now I have like a set selection, but I still constantly will look and hire a new writer for each book, and I find a writer that is very passionate about the topic.
About the subject,
yeah.
right, yeah.
Yeah, and that's a big thing, and a lot of guys just use the same writers. They get them from like a writing service and stuff. There's nothing wrong with that, but I feel like the issue that comes up there is that you don't have the passion behind the writing, and then you end up with a boring ebook. And the tech.
Yeah, there's got to be. I mean, at the end of the day, right? As you said, and this is the PLR show, so we can talk about PLR. You have a customer on the other end who's reliant on this information.
Exactly.
They're gonna use this information. They might sell it. They might put it on their website. And I always envision that other person taking something that I did, right? And they're gonna put their own name on it.
Exactly.
Right? They're gonna say, well, man, this is mine. I'm proud of it. So you always do want to be careful with that.
The topics that I choose for like my self-help products and stuff are topics that I'm like passionate about too. Like I had an anger management one, which I needed after that whole partnership thing. Yeah. I had a self-esteem one. At the end of this month, I have one about like compassion and, being like a more empathetic person and stuff. It's like a whole analyzation of the thing. It's a really interesting topic. I have one coming out on it's called Friendship Alchemy next year. I think it's January. And that's about people are like retarded with making friends nowadays because of social networks and stuff. So it's kind of about like you move to a new city and you want to get out there and you meet new people or something. It's like a whole ebook about it. So like I think of topics that are near and dear to me and that I think are going to appeal to a wider audience. I don't want to make a PLR product on eating healthy because there's been 30 of them last year. It's all about I don't want to keep regurgitating the same things. PLR needs especially the self-help scene. There's so many topics out there, even small things like friendship alchemy, making friends. Arun always laughs when I say that's what I'm launching in January, and he's like, that's so funny though, dude. I'm like, yeah, but it's it is a topic that people are gonna buy. It's a topic that sells. There are especially and stuff you might not buy this friendship alchemy, but there are plenty of people out there that are gonna buy it. And so my focus is that if it's going to be, even if it seems like a silly topic, it better be the best written thing on a silly topic that it can be. And that's where, that's where I'm at with the PLR. I even after my writers write it, it takes me forever because I will have to sit down and I will literally read through all 14,000 words, which is so tiring for me. And I will go through it and I'll make sure it reads just fine. And actually have a...
Yeah, you have to.
You have to. Yeah. You have to because when you see it... You sometimes you see things that are written and they don't sound right, and it's like, oh man, and typos and stuff. I see them sometimes in my thing. I'm like, oh, better fix that. But it's you kind of get to this point. So we're up to this point. I had the launch last month that went really well. That was my best one I did solo, the Lead Magnets Volume 4. So that will launch publicly, and it still sold nearly 500. I think you promoted that. It sold nearly 500 through the funnel. And that was the first time, here's what's interesting, that was the first time that some affiliates actually gave me the shot and promoted me. And that was where I actually got to see where some of the really bad traffic comes from. There was some big name affiliates that mailed out, and they drove 300 and 400, hits to the site, and they got
and did not all convert exactly.
Yeah, and it was really bad. And the ones that they did convert, they were the ones that opened support tickets, or they were the ones that they got felt misled or something. Like they don't describe, and people always say, I was like, dude, the pre-sale and your swipe, if you describe a product wrong in your swipe, it does play through if they buy the product. Like I got a support ticket that the one guy promoted my product, and he said that you can take these 5 lead magnets and sell them for $9 to $100 a pop. And like, there's nowhere on my thing that it mentions selling these. Like they're meant to be given away. I mean, you could sell them if you want. You can easily. I write them of that quality that you could sell them for $5 or $10.
But that's not the state. That's not the purpose.
Yeah,
of it, though, right?
yeah, that's not the purpose. And I even say like the whole purpose is to build your list with these and then monetize your list. And so I got a whole bunch of sales from him, and I got a support ticket, and the guy's like, well, where's the sales pages in these? I thought I was going to be able to sell each one of them. And I go, let me guess, so-and-so sent you? And he goes, yeah, you're right. And I go, okay, well, figures. And I go, you should probably get off of his list. I just flat out said it. I said, this guy's an idiot. Like, if he's sending you this much of a misleading swipe, then, he doesn't care. He doesn't care about the product, and he doesn't care about you as the customer. And that's how I feel. If the person can't even take the time to analyze the product before they're going to mail out the swipe, and promote it, then they really don't care about the customer.
Well, man, you had something that, at the time of this, and I don't really want to use this as a promotion. So actually, what I'm going to do in my own email, I really want this to be kind of a show that I'm going to leave up, and I'll tell people about the promotion later, because what you have shared here, I just think is, as we talked about, it's the stuff you don't hear.
And it's what you need to hear.
It is what you need to hear, right? It's what happens, and it's what needs to be done. Because if I were to come to you, if I were new, and I would say, well, Darren, I saw you had a really successful launch. How do I do that? I mean, what's important to this is this was a cumulative effect ever since 2014.
Exactly.
Right? And a number of times you could have walked away from it.
Exactly. And it was very easy. It would have, and at times it was like, that was a really good option to walk away and try something. I just give up.
Well, what after everything, right? And I know, let's put the partner stuff aside. Let's talk about some, and not even from the PLR perspective, but just from the internet marketer perspective. And I didn't ask you to do this. I didn't ask you to do this ahead of time, so I'm not trying to put you on the spot. But let's talk about some lessons learned, right? So now you gotta, let's say I'm new, and you've got this experience that you had, but you don't want to tell me about the experience. Just kind of talk me through, based on what you've learned, what can I expect? What do I need to do in terms of trying to gain some success in internet marketing?
This is a really good topic, because there's a guy that floats around on Facebook, and he's kind of like, everyone says he gives sob stories, and he kind of tries to get people to feel bad for him and help him. And I want to do coaching next year once things calm down, and I want to do it's going to be like 4 figures. It's going to be a high-ticket thing, but my plan is not to bring people in. And my plan for coaching is to get to know someone and figure out their strengths, and then formulate the business around their business plan, around them and what they can do. And so I took on this guy on Facebook recently, and everyone says he's helpless. He can't be helped. And I'm like, no, I can help. Trust me, I can do this. I've dealt with some dumb people before in the past, and I can do it. I can do it. And so I took this guy, and one day I was sitting here a couple weeks ago, and I said, I have this idea, and I have a lot of ideas, and you probably know how it is when you have a lot of business ideas, and you don't have the time, and you don't have the resources and energy to put it into that and see it through, but it could work. And I said, this is an idea that this guy could do. And so I contacted him. I said, hey, here's the idea, and I got an idea for you. Do you want to learn about it? And he asked me, and I started telling him, this is what you got to do, and I made a video and showed him how to do it and stuff. And then he would keep asking me. He's been asking me a lot of questions like what you just asked would be good. And he would be like, Darren, let me ask you, how long did it take for you to see success? And I said, that is the hardest question for me to give an answer to, because it's going to vary for everyone. And beyond that, it's, depending on who you work with and what you work with, it's going to vary. If you have a bad idea, it's not going to convert. It might not do well the first time. If you have bad sales materials or what it is, it might not convert. If you have a lousy partner, you might go for 2 years without seeing, I tell him that, and I said, in 2 months, in about 2-3 months time, I have made more progress, and I'm actually making money than ever before in my life is internet marketing. You know, I'm from doing it for years, and I started doing it in maybe 2013 or 2012 when I feel like became the internet marketer, you know. And where my focus was like the whole, you know, making money online, having an internet business. And it's like I told him, I said, it's you can't, because I'm actually gonna launch with him something really neat next month. We're working on it, and you might actually be interested in it. It's really cool. So I'll have to give you more details when it gets closer. But it's like I said, I keep telling him, I said, you'll make. He says, I want to make $400 from this first one. I said, oh, well, you'll make $400 from this launch. I will see to it if I'm with it that you'll make this. And I said, but you gotta, you know, I said that in my post too. I think it's like you gotta see, like when you're having a bad time and things aren't working in your life, you have to kind of address what the actual issue is. For me, it was the partner. For me, it was not thinking I could do it on my own. For me, it was thinking that I wasn't good enough, or that I didn't have the powers, or that people wouldn't promote me or give me the time of day. And all of that was my own fears. I was, Arun has said this before. He said it, and it's, I laugh so hard. Yeah. I always say it to him. I always say it, and we always send it to each other. I said 99 problems, and they're always, and it's so true. It's like, I think in this, as an entrepreneur, and I think in the coming months, I have always been honest, and I make those posts on my Facebook and stuff, and say that in the coming months, I'll say, you know, starting a business is the hardest thing you'll ever do, especially when it's any business, you know, any business coming out as an entrepreneur. But you're going to be your biggest problem. It's going to be you the whole way through it. It's always going to be you. It's always going to be you doubting yourself. It's always going to be you listening to other people telling you it won't work. All year, I mean, my parents, my sister, everyone's like, oh, well, you need to get a job. You need to get a job now. And like now I make more money, let's quite honestly, than a lot of people that are saying that I wasn't going to make it. I mean, I've made more money. I made like what, almost $2,000 in 36 hours. And that's like a salary for people, a monthly salary for some people, you know?
Right, yeah.
It's like you can't give up. And if I had given up from the start and I had wanted to many times, they never would have gotten to this point. And you got to address that problem, and you have to admit it to yourself that, you know, if you made a mistake, like here's a good example. I made a really stupid mistake on this launch. When the launch first came out at 9 a.m. on Friday, I had the OTOs priced $10 more than they were. And we drove maybe 25 sales when by the time I woke up and saw that, and I was like, what is going on? This is really bad. Like, the OTOs are supposed to convert. So I bumped them all down to 27, and I sent an email out to the buyers who had bought, like, the front end. I said, this is what happened. You know, I'm sorry. And as soon as they did it, literally like a minute later, boom, all these, like, the people who were buying the front end as it is were now buying the OTOs. And you're going to make mistakes. You will keep making them. The bigger mistake I made was, this is the first launch I used a Facebook tracking pixel in. And everyone's like, you got to do that. You got to do that. Kevin Fahey was saying, if you don't do that, you're an idiot. You have to do that because you're not using exit pop-ups on your page. So you gather the Facebook targeting pixel, and then you retarget through Facebook ads and send them to the squeeze. You know, you can build. All of that, yeah, you can build, and then you're not stepping on anyone's toes. You're not hurting anyone. You're paying for the leads as it is then through ads. Now I set up the pixel. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. You know, it was like 4 a.m. before my launch was going live. I was about to go to bed. And then 5 hours before launch, because I was like, all right, Pixel's going. I tested it, and it was showing up fine. I had this thing to test it. And I was like, okay, we'll wait, like, you know, 48 hours, and then I'll start running ads. And I go in yesterday to create an ad, and I found out that I didn't create an audience. And in order for it to track your pixel, you have to track an audience. Now, I had almost 2,000, like 1,500 people, nearly 2,000 people from all my, because I put it on all my websites then, and I didn't have, none of them got logged or tracked. So right there I was like, wow, I just really screwed myself. I mean, that's, not only would that be a bunch of leads I could have got, but that could have been potentially $400, $500, $1,000, you know, you never know, from a retargeting campaign. So I was really, I was really upset about that yesterday. I was like, I made a stupid mistake. And I was like, but you will keep, every time I tell everyone, I said, every time I do a mistake in my launch, and at least the mistakes are not things that are affecting the, like, you know, well, the first one it was affecting conversions, but at least the mistakes are not like access issues and stuff. But it's like every time I learn something new, and it's like, oh, well, I'm never going to screw that up again. So like your first launch or your first endeavor, your first blog, your niche site might not work. And you might waste a lot of money on it and a lot of time.
It probably won't work.
It won't.
The first one.
I tell you, I had a lot of niche sites before I got into this, and I built them out. I spent a lot of money on them. Some of them were really awesome. They looked really cool, and they didn't work. They flopped, and I let them expire, and you know all that. I mean, hours and hours, hundreds of hours probably on some of them. you got to find what works for you. And that's why I like my coaching when I open that up next year and stuff. It's like it's not about like some of these guys will do, and don't be conned into coaching. I think a lot of marketers, like Edmund always suggests, he's like, you need to find a mentor. And I think that that's partly true, but I think that it's dangerous because, like in my thing with the partner thing, he was supposed to be a mentor to me, but all he was viewing was dollar signs, when he saw my work. And you gotta, my advice is to watch if you see someone doing a niche blog, watch their blog and study everything they're doing. If you see someone doing product launches, like what I did, buy their product and go through their funnel and copy their sales page. That's how I started doing my sales pages. And I read other people's sales pages and copied them and rewrote them to be better to fit my objective. Like I said, what works for you, what works for Edmund Lowe might not work for you.
Might not work for you. That's right.
And
That's right.
and like some people, like there's I've never taken an email copywriting course in my life, and there's people that swear by Lee Murray's, I think it was Email Slick. He had something come out months back, and people say you got to read it. It's the best thing. And I was like, but my objective isn't to drive 500 untargeted cold hits to a site. My objective is to tell them everything in the email and get them to click out when they want to, or send them to my bonus page and then send them to the sales page when I know that they're committed to buying. You got to find what works for you. Not every person's gonna your list might unsubscribe and flag you as spam if you send those stupid emails with really broad solo ad emails. So it's,
right, yeah.
You have to test and find out. And I've tried over the last few months from doing my list. I've tried like longer emails, shorter emails, putting my story on the bonus page and getting people to go there. And you gotta expect that things aren't gonna work. There's plenty of affiliate promos I've done, and I've only been doing affiliate marketing seriously on JVZ for 3 months, and I'm about to break 500 sales. So I've done that well for myself. But there are plenty of promos that I send out, and I will make like $60 or like $80, and to me that's bad. When you see like when I can make 300 and 400 from a really good promo, so it's like you will flop, and then you got to make note, like, what did I do something wrong? Was it the product? Was it a bad fit for my list? It's always going to be that way, and I say that. Just expect failure. Like I told the guy I'm working with, this guy, he's like my guinea pig. I said, if he keeps telling me, how long will it take? Will we see money? I said, you're asking me really stupid questions right now. Stop asking me questions. You're asking me dumb questions, and I don't have time for this. I got 2 launches to prepare for. One is in 7 days, and I don't have time to be answering trivial questions. He asked me. He had read my post that the whole point of this interview we're talking about, and he had read it and commented on it and liked it, and then he asked me this stupid question of like, is this possible? Is it possible this, or how long is it going to be? Do you think that this? And I said, dude, you just read my post. He was losing motivation. It's a great example. He talked to me and he says, Darren, I don't think we're going to have this ready. I just don't feel like, is this going to work? Is this going to be worth my time? And I said, you just read my dang post, the whole long thing. You read the whole thing and you commented on it, and you're asking me, you're saying this to me. I just told you how hard of a year I had. And I had a few years, and you're going to say this to me. I'm not lying to you. Would I lie to you? Would I make this up? It will work, but you have to work hard. You have to be willing to sacrifice, and you have to take a risk. I mean, it is a risk. Anything you do is like a risk calculated in some way or another.
Right, yeah.
And if you try to make that, like, there's some people that will put just like, oh, you just got to put a product, just get a product out there, and that's partially true. But, if you put out a bad product as your first product just to get a product out there, then you're going to end up pulling it anyway. And you're going to have a list that you're not going to want to mail because they're going to think you're an idiot, because you had a dumb product. And,
right,
and that's how I see, if you have a bad product that, like, those guys that do the WSOs, they get like 2,000 and 3,000 front-end sales, and their list builds like crazy. But, like, then you look at the review, because I'm Warrior Plus, you can see, like, the review of a product, and it's like 1.5 stars.
Right.
And no one's happy. And then you Google the guy's name, and it's like, this guy's a scammer, this guy's a ripoff, and it's like, and like last night I was looking at that, and I had Googled my name, and I didn't see anything bad. I was like, good. People don't think I'm mean yet. But it's like, you gotta be calculated with it. And my biggest mistake would have been staying with my partner, because he was ruining my brand and tarnishing my name. When I talk to people, my customers, they're like, you got to get away from this guy. Like, I'm going to recommend you get away from him because he's just bad news. And I've been in the scene for years buying PLR, and, you're a good dude. And one of them is, she's probably on your list. She buys IM PLR, like internet marketing. So she's probably on your list. And she's on Arun's list, and she always emails us and talks to us. And And it's like, she says, she said in her last name, she's like, you're one of the good people, so don't ever let anyone try and get in your way of this, a partner or an enemy or anything.
Right.
Don't let anyone tell you what you're doing is wrong, because I can tell you I've been in this scene. I actually found her on the Warrior Forum, her account, and it's like registered 2004. And I've seen her post, and she had like all these posts. So it's like, that's someone who's been in it for a long time.
Right,
and she's like,
yeah.
I can tell you what you're doing is right, and you keep doing it. And I get emails all the time. People keep saying, you're on the right path. Keep doing what you're doing. And I'm really happy to be on this journey. And that's what it comes down to. Find what works for you. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't mean you did it wrong. Like if you made a niche site and it didn't work for you, it doesn't mean you did it wrong. It just means that maybe it wasn't the thing for you.
And it just might need some adjustment.
Exactly.
Like you said, and adjusting takes time.
Yeah, exactly. Like how I messed up the targeting and retargeting for my launch this time. I learned that, and now I'm never going to do that again. And it's the same way with that kind of stuff. Maybe you got a whole bunch of hits to your niche site and nobody bought through the affiliate link to Amazon or something. And it's like, okay, well, what do I got to change about that? What should I done? And, maybe you didn't have an exit pop-up on your thing, and so you got 1,000 hits and you didn't get anything from that. So what can you fix there? Well, you should have collected the leads and stuff. You should have had something to give them, like a gift or some way to keep them, so it wasn't a waste of effort. It's all about test, split test, and always don't get discouraged or unmotivated. And that's going to happen. That happens. Like, I get it all the time. I still get it. Like, I think it was like a week ago, I was sitting there before this launch, and I was like, I don't think I can do all these. I think I put too much on my plate. But then I'm like, no, I can do this. I overcame all this stuff this year, and it's like, I know I can pull together products and stuff. So it's like, you got to set the goals too. I learned that, like, set the goals, like set your weekly goals and set your monthly goals and set your yearly goals and adjust them to meet your needs. If you don't meet your monthly goals, then maybe what did you do wrong? How did you do? It really comes down to approach at the end of the day. My approach was all wrong for a really long time, and that's why I wasn't seeing the success. I mean, I was doing the products right, and I was doing all this stuff, but the approach, the mistake was that I was my own problem. I believed I couldn't do it on my own. I believed that I had to stay with this partner.
Right.
Yep. So it's like that. You gotta get to the root of that, get to figure it out, and then address it. And remember that things won't change overnight. I said that on my post that April to June, when I was doing that first lead magnets product and the Clockwork PLR product, the account security lockdown, they were the hardest 2 months of this year probably, because it's like, I am working 50 to 60 hours a week. Is this going to make me any money? Is this going to work? I mean, this is a sacrifice and a half, and you gotta
and you don't know up front if it's all going to work.
So
right?
Always just keep your eye on the prize. And if your goal is to make a living online, you can make, it's really, I always see that. I say it now too, like, making money online is really, really easy once you find what works for you and what works. And it's really hard to stop making money once you get that, that system going. For me, like, I could send out an email, and it's like really hard for me to not make money from sending out an email nowadays. It's like really hard for me to not make money from having a product launch nowadays, because I have figured out the formula that works. And
the one that works for
exactly,
you.
Exactly.
Right, yeah.
And it doesn't, and like, I talked to Arun, he says, like, he doesn't like OTOs, a lot of OTOs. And I said to his last launch, I said, if you don't put those OTOs in your launch like I do with mine, you're not going to make as much money, and you're going to be upset about it, and your affiliates aren't going to make as much money, and they might be disappointed. So I told him, I said, that's the OTOs, like, people get pissed off about them, but they're essential in a sales funnel. So you got to sometimes maybe and you got to remember that too, like, maybe you don't like a tactic, but if it's the tactic that works, then you have to go with it, or spin it to work right for you, that it doesn't make you mad.
Make it work right for you.
Exactly.
No, that's exactly right. Right. Yeah.
Exactly. Like, I've gotten rid of all down sells in my one funnel. And like this funnel we just did, the white label audio, I had down sells for each one, which means you were sending people through a funnel of 8 OTOs. I dropped every single down sell, mainly because didn't want to redo all the sales pages, but also because I tested on my soft launch. I did the white label audio soft launch months ago, and I tested, and not one down sale sold. So I said, why would I send these people through those hoops if they're not converting? So figure out what works for you. Maybe, and like Edmund Lowe has always said, you have to have this down, so you have to have this. And I tried his stuff, and some of it didn't work for me, and that's why, and that's how it has to be. So you never get discouraged or unmotivated when you take action. If you're constantly taking action, then you're already that much further ahead, and you're already on the right track if you're doing something. Because there's so many people that go around on Facebook and comment on these internet marketers posts. I don't even know how they're friends with some of them, but they comment and they just like they go from thing to thing. They'll comment as like say yes in the comments below if you want to learn how you can build your list and make $50 a day. And like the same people saying yes, the same people, and they're not doing anything, you know.
And the only way, right, that you ultimately will end up getting whatever the education is the first time you actually try to do, whether it's a launch, whether you publish the first Kindle book, whether you send the first email. That's exactly when it happens, right? Yeah, it's real feedback.
Exactly, and it's not easy. And like the Sid guy was saying last night, he was like saying, I said, dude, I'm not gonna lie to you, doing a product launch is really hard, and it's not for everyone. Doing this, making money and starting a business and doing it online is not for everyone, you know. And anyone can do it, but it's not for anyone or everyone, you know. Like anyone can do it, but it's like you said, like some people aren't. Some people, maybe product launching isn't your game, so you get into doing niche stuff or blogging or SEO or, you know, try everything and find what works for you, because you're never gonna know unless you take that action. And like
until you take
that's what it is. That first step, and that's the hardest thing. The guy, I don't know if you know what Justin TV is. It became Twitch TV a few years back. It's like a gaming site now. They stream video games on it. And this guy Justin, Justin Kahn is his name, and he made this thing back in 2007 called Justin TV. And it was basically he was the first life caster where, you know, they put a camera on their face and they just film their whole day and everything they do.
Yeah.
And he was the first guy that ever did it. And then he opened the site up. It got so popular, he opened it up for other people to start life casting, and it became this huge thing. And then people started streaming video games. It was the first thing that they did, and people would stream video games, and then it took over the site. Like that was a big thing. Like no one had ever watched people like streaming video games and doing it, adding commentary, you know, because we have like PewDiePie on YouTube, but it was never a streaming thing. And then Justin TV had some like things where people like committed suicide on like it was a lot of like legalities and stuff. And so they ended up rebranding to something called Twitch TV, and now it's like the biggest thing. And you actually have like there was the conventions, a Democratic and Republican thing. They actually were streaming on Twitch, and they'll stream like the big music festivals and stuff on there now. It's like a big deal. And it's Justin he sold it for like I think almost like several
something obscene.
It was huge, yeah. And these guys that I had talked to, they were interviewing him and they did this interview, and someone it was on YouTube, and someone in the comments they made a comment like, hey, he sold it, he doesn't have much money now, and he goes, yeah, well, I have more money than you because I took action. And it was just funny to see, because he actually like replied to this comment because someone was saying something that insulted him. But it was like, he said that the hardest step of being, and this is a guy, you know, he had an incubator, he called it, at his house. He would take entrepreneurs and then kind of help them get their startups going. That's his thing. After he sold Twitch, he started doing that, and he has a bunch of new.
Right.
And he said the biggest thing is, if you want to be successful and be an entrepreneur, is to take the first step, because that's the hardest thing. If you just get and do it, just do it. If you start doing it, then you're already in it. Like once you start, it's like, I find that it's like starting a project's really hard. Once you already have things coming, then this idea comes to you, and then that, oh, I can prove this, or I can do that, or this. It's like the hardest step is just doing it.
Yeah, and the idea doesn't come until you get started.
Exactly. And like I've sat there, I used to be the person that would draft out ideas all the time, and like, oh, we can do this and do that, and you never do it. I always said I was going to do this, I'll do that, I'm gonna, but I never did it, and I just stopped. My friend says, he's like, you say that all the time, and then you don't do things. And so I just stopped saying I was going to do stuff, and I just take action. And then I'd come back and be like, look at this, look, I'm like almost done with this, or I'm doing that. You know, just the hardest part is to do it. To get that and go, and once you get going, it's so much easier. You're already you're already there, you know. It's just like the finish line. It's like going to the gym, you know. Like it's hard to get started going to the gym, or it's hard to get started to get up in the morning and get moving. And once you do it, you're doing it.
Yeah, that's true. Man, this is a real marketing education. Yeah, you know, and man, I appreciate you sitting down.
Oh, no problem.
And I'm pretty sure everybody is gonna really appreciate the appreciate the realness in you. I'm going to, for the sake of the PLR show, I'm going to set up a page. That's the plrshow.com /Darren, so that, you know, whenever you've got something going on, maybe somebody's listening to this interview, they listen to it later down the line. I want them to be able to go and actually get something from you. and really be able to get some of the stuff that's going on. So what I want you to do, Darren, I'm going to put you on blast here. I want you to always keep me abreast of what you're doing,
Absolutely.
so I keep that page updated with your stuff, so that people can always find it very easily.
Absolutely.
And as you know, I mean, we're both from Central PA, so not only will we see each other online,
Yep.
but again, I want to thank you personally, first of all, for being open.
Absolutely.
And being so incredibly transparent about some of the details and some of the, I mean, just so the not so pleasant things, right? You could have obscured all those things, or you could have made yourself into the hero. But I mean, I think you talked about the stuff that you felt like you didn't do so good, stuff you did right, and this is really what will help people.
Exactly. And I did make mistakes, and I did do bad things, and it's like, if you make a mistake, like the thing, I could sit here and still be so bitter about that, not the retargeting pixel thing. I was really mad about that, but it's like, you're gonna make mistakes and you're gonna do things wrong, but you gotta accept that and acknowledge that you have screwed up or you made a mistake, and that you'll overcome it, because that's like all part of this internet marketing thing. There is really no one way to do that, to get to the prize. I mean, there's like coaches and there's patterns, and there's like certain things. You create a product, you launch it, you do together, but there's no one right or wrong way to do it. Like I say, it's like we were talking, you got to find what works for you. And you always got to be, always be open-minded and always be willing to fail and before you succeed.
That's right. Well, everybody, this has been Darren Ross. He is one part of what I call the Central PA Mafia, jokingly. And again, so the URL that I'm going to make available to you whenever you're hearing this is the PLRshow.com/Darren, and whatever he's got going on, whatever I'm promoting, and I'm pretty always going to be behind your stuff, man. Folks can head on over there, check out what he's got, pick it up, and then even if I don't have a bonus there, here's what I'll say about this. If you're listening to this call, you head over to that page and you get something, right? You don't see a bonus there. You contact me personally, and I will give you something, and I will custom make it for you, right? Whatever I'm doing for him. If it's a year after I've done this interview, tell me what you've got. Tell me what you picked it up from here, and then I'll get you something custom for whatever you get at the PLRshow.com/Darren. Darren, again, man, thank you so much for sitting down and really just telling this.
Oh, you're very welcome. I'm glad that I'm at the point where I can tell this story in full transparency, where it's like I actually have the weight, like I did it, I overcame it, and so this story holds that much more weight, and that's what I love about it.
Right on. Well, everybody, thank you very much for being here. Have a great night or a great day and a pleasant tomorrow. Take care.
Yep. See you later.